The confession came at dawn, and it shattered everything. Lycan stood in the center of the pack's judgment circle with her wrists bound in silver and her head held high, while 300 wolves bayed for her blood. The morning mist clung to the ancient stone amphitheater like a shroud, and the shattered remains of the Moonstone relic, sacred artifact of the Silver Crest Pack for over 5 centuries, glittered like accusations at her feet. "I did it," she said again, her voice steady despite the silver burning through her skin. "I destroyed the relic. Punish me." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome to a story that's about to grip your heart and refuse to let go. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. I love connecting with you all. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button because trust me, you're going to want to see how this story unfolds. This one's different. This one's going to hurt in the best way possible. Now, let's get back to Isla, shall we? Elder Morrigan stepped forward, her ancient face twisted with rage. You dare stand before us and admit such treason? The Moonstone was our bond to the moon goddess herself. Without it, we cannot perform the claiming ceremonies. We cannot strengthen our bloodlines. You've left us vulnerable on the eve of war. Isla didn't flinch. I know what I've done. Then you know the punishment. Elder Thorne's voice cracked like a whip. Death. Slow. Public. As a warning to anyone who would dare. Enough. The single word cut through the chaos like a blade through silk. Every wolf in the amphitheater fell silent. Necks bent in automatic submission. Even the elders lowered their eyes. Alpha King Ryden Silvercrest descended the stone steps with the fluid grace of a predator, his massive frame radiating power that made the air itself feel heavy. At 6'5", with midnight black hair and eyes that shifted between steel gray and wolf gold depending on his mood, he was everything an Alpha King should be: ruthless, strategic, untouchable. He was also, Isla had learned 3 months ago in a moment of devastating clarity, her fated mate. He didn't know. Would never know. Not if she had anything to say about it. Clear the circle, Ryden commanded. Everyone except the accused and the elders. The pack dispersed reluctantly, casting hateful glares at Isla as they filed out. She felt each look like a physical blow, but she kept her spine straight, her expression blank. Ryden circled her slowly, studying her with those unervingly intelligent eyes. This close, his scent pine and smoke and something wild wrapped around her like a living thing. The mate bond thrummed beneath her skin, desperate to reach out, to connect. She crushed it down ruthlessly. Isla Kane, he said, his deep voice measured. Unmated. Low-ranked. Omega designation. You work in the pack kitchens. You've never been in trouble. Never even raised your voice in pack meetings. He stopped directly in front of her. And yet you want me to believe you somehow infiltrated the temple of the moon goddess, bypassed wards that have held for 500 years, and destroyed a relic that requires alpha-level power to even touch without dying? I'm confessing to the crime, Isla said evenly. Not explaining how I did it. That's not how this works. It is if you want this to be over quickly. She met his eyes, something no low-ranked wolf should ever do with an Alpha King. The relic is destroyed. I'm claiming responsibility. Execute me and be done with it. The Nightshade Pack is mobilizing on the northern border. You need to focus on the war, not on me. Something flickered in Ryden's expression, surprise, maybe, or suspicion. You seem awfully eager to die. I'm eager for justice to be served. Justice. He stepped closer, so close she could feel the heat radiating from his body. Or are you protecting someone? Isla's heart lurched, but she kept her face neutral. There's no one to protect. Give me a name, and I'll make your death quick. Painless. Continue lying, and I'll have the pack healers keep you alive for weeks while we extract the truth. Theirs. No. Name. Ryden's eyes flashed gold, his wolf rising to the surface. Around them, the elders shifted nervously. An Alpha King's wolf was not something to be trifled with. But then he did something unexpected. He leaned in close, his breath warm against her ear, and inhaled. Isla's entire body went rigid. Wolves could scent emotions. It was one of their most fundamental abilities. Fear, anger, arousal, guilt, all of it left traces in a person's scent. When Ryden pulled back, his expression was troubled. You don't smell guilty. Because I'm not ashamed of what I did. That's not what I mean. His gaze bored into hers. Your scent carries grief, fear, and something else I can't quite. He trailed off, frustration tightening his jaw. What aren't you telling me? Does it matter? The relic is destroyed. I confessed. Carry out the sentence. I am the Alpha King, Ryden said softly, dangerously. I don't take orders from prisoners. And I don't execute pack members without understanding why. Elder Morrigan cleared her throat. Your Majesty, with respect, the evidence is clear. She confessed. The law demands. I'll decide what the law demands. Ryden's voice carried the weight of absolute authority. This doesn't add up. A low-ranked Omega breaching words that would kill even a Beta? Destroying a relic that should have incinerated her on contact. He shook his head. No. Something else is happening here. Your Majesty. I'm launching a formal investigation. Lycan will be held in the royal detention cells until I personally determine the truth of this matter. He turned to his Beta, a scarred warrior named Dane who'd been watching silently from the shadows. Take her. Triple guard. No visitors except me. You can't do this. Elder Thorne sputtered. The pack is calling for blood. If you show weakness now, the pack will accept my decision, or they'll challenge me for leadership. Anyone is welcome to try. Ryden's smile was all teeth. Any takers? Silence. That's what I thought. He looked back at Isla, and for just a moment, something almost like concern flickered in his eyes. I will find out the truth, Lycan. Whether you want me to or not. As Dane stepped forward to lead her away, Isla felt the weight of what she'd set in motion settling over her like a physical thing. She'd hoped for a quick execution. A clean end. Instead, she'd gained the personal attention of the one wolf in the world who could unravel everything. The one wolf she was desperately trying to save. Wait, she heard herself say. The word came out strangled, desperate. Please. Just don't look deeper. Punish me. End this. Don't dig into why. Ryden's eyes narrowed. Why not? Because some truths are more dangerous than lies. Is that a threat? It's a warning. Isla's voice dropped to barely a whisper. If you investigate this, Alpha King, you'll wish you'd killed me when you had the chance. The morning mist swirled between them, carrying secrets and the scent of coming rain. Ryden watched her with those two knowing eyes, and Isla felt the first crack in her careful composure. The truth was a living thing inside her chest, clawing to get out. The curse. The bloodline. The terrible choice she'd made. And underneath it all, the mate bond singing its siren song, begging her to tell him everything, to trust him, to let him help. But she couldn't. Because the moment he learned the truth, one of them would have to die. And Isla had already decided it would be her. The royal detention cells were nothing like Isla expected. Instead of the dungeon she'd imagined, cold stone and iron bars, she found herself in a circular room at the top of the northern tower. Moonlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows that had been reinforced with silver-laced enchantments. A bed with actual blankets. A writing desk. Even a small bathroom with running water. It was a cage, but a gilded one. The Alpha King's orders, Dane explained gruffly as he removed her silver bindings. The metal had left angry red burns around her wrists. He said you're to be treated as a prisoner under investigation, not a condemned criminal. Yet, Isla rubbed her wrists, grateful for the small mercy even as guilt twisted in her gut. Ryden was being kind to someone who didn't deserve kindness. Someone who was lying to his face. There's a change of clothes in the wardrobe, Dane continued. Meals 3 times a day. Guards posted outside around the clock. His scarred face softened slightly. For what it's worth, I don't buy your confession either. I've seen you around the pack. You're the one who brings extra food to the elder wolves. Who sits with the pups during their first shifts. You don't have a destructive bone in your body. The words landed like blows. You don't know me. Maybe not. But I know guilty wolves, and you're not one of them. He moved toward the door, then paused. Whatever you're protecting, I hope it's worth it. The door closed with a soft click, and Isla was alone. She sank onto the bed, her body finally giving in to the tremors she'd been suppressing all morning. Her wolf whimpered inside her mind, a presence that had been growing weaker day by day since she'd destroyed the relic. It's starting, she thought. The curse is transferring. She pulled up the sleeve of her shirt and stared at the mark on her inner forearm. To anyone else, it would look like a birthmark, a crescent moon wrapped in thorny vines. But Isla knew better. It was the seal of the witch wolves, passed down through her bloodline for 13 generations. And now it was burning. Meanwhile, in the Alpha King's war room, Raiden slammed his fist on the ancient oak table hard enough to crack it. She's lying, he growled, pacing like a caged animal. Every instinct I have is screaming that she's lying. His inner circle watched him carefully. Dane leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Caleb, his Gamma and chief strategist, studied the broken pieces of the Moonstone relic they'd recovered from the temple. And Liam, his cousin and head of pack security, flipped through investigation reports with a frown. The evidence says otherwise, Liam said carefully. Her scent was all over the temple. The wards registered an Omega-level breach at 3:47 a.m. And she confessed. Publicly. Multiple witnesses. The wards could have been manipulated, Caleb suggested, holding up a shard of the relic to the light. This break pattern is wrong. The Moonstone should have shattered into dust if an Omega touched it. Instead, it fractured along natural fault lines, like it was deliberately broken by someone who understood its structure, Raiden finished. Someone with knowledge of ancient magic. Isla Kane works in the kitchens, Dane pointed out. She has no magical training, no access to the library. Hell, she barely speaks at pack meetings. Raiden closed his eyes, replaying every moment of their interaction in the Judgment Circle. Her steady voice. Her unflinching gaze. The way she'd begged him not to investigate further. And that scent. Grief and fear and something else, something that had made his wolf sit up and take notice in a way nothing had in years. I want to know everything about her, he said. Family history. Friends. Where she goes, who she talks to. Everything. Liam raised an eyebrow. That's thorough for someone you're convinced is lying. If she's lying, she has a reason. And that reason might be the key to understanding what really happened. Raiden ran a hand through his hair. The Nightshade Pack is 3 days from our border. Without the Moonstone, we can't complete the claiming ceremonies for the new warriors. Our pack bonds are weakened. If they attack now, we're vulnerable. So execute her and make an example, Caleb said bluntly. Show strength. Rally the pack around a common enemy. She's not the enemy. The words came out with more force than Raiden intended. 3 sets of eyes turned to him. I don't think she is. Something about this feels orchestrated. Dane pushed off the wall. You think someone's setting her up? Or she's protecting someone who manipulated her into confessing. Raiden moved to the window overlooking the northern tower where Isla was being held. I'm going to question her again. Tonight. Without the elders breathing down my neck. Bad idea, Liam said immediately. The pack is already questioning your decision to delay her execution. If you're seen spending private time with the prisoner, I don't care what the pack thinks. I care about the truth. The truth or the girl? Raiden's head whipped around, eyes flashing gold. What did you say? Liam held his ground, though his neck tilted slightly in submission, an automatic response to an alpha's anger. I'm saying you're more invested in this than you should be. She's a low-ranked Omega who confessed to treason. Yet you're treating her like what? Like she matters. The room fell silent. Raiden turned back to the window, jaw tight. Liam was right, and they both knew it. There was no logical reason for him to care this much about Lycan. She was nobody. A kitchen worker. Invisible in pack hierarchy. Except she wasn't invisible. Not to him. He'd noticed her months ago during a pack gathering. She'd been serving food, moving through the crowd with quiet efficiency, and something about her had caught his attention. The grace in her movements. The sad smile she wore like armor. The way she'd stopped to help a pup who'd dropped his plate, kneeling in the dirt in her clean white uniform without a second thought. He'd found himself watching for her after that. Noticing when she was at pack meetings, always in the back, never speaking. Recognizing her scent in the corridors of the pack house, vanilla and rain and something earthy, like petrichor. His wolf had been interested. Which was strange, because his wolf was interested in very little besides hunting and protecting the pack. But he'd ignored it. He was the Alpha King. She was an Omega. The gulf between them was insurmountable. "I'm investigating a crime," Raiden said flatly. "Nothing more." "Of course, Your Majesty." Liam's tone suggested he didn't believe that for a second. Caleb cleared his throat. "I've been going through the old records about the Moonstone. There's something you should know." "What?" The relic wasn't just a symbol of pack unity. According to the original texts, it was also a seal. He pulled out a leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed with age. A seal containing something dangerous. Something the first Alpha King locked away using witchwolf magic. Raiden went very still. "What kind of something?" "The records don't say. But there's a passage here that's troubling." Caleb read aloud. "Should the Moonstone break before its time, the bearer of the seal must pay the price of blood and bone. The curse will seek a new vessel, and the Alpha bloodline will face its darkest hour." "That's a legend," Dane said dismissively. "Old superstition." "Maybe. But what if it's not?" Caleb looked up. "What if Isla didn't destroy the relic to betray us? What if she destroyed it to stop something worse?" Raiden's mind raced. "Punish me. Just don't look deeper." That's what she'd said. Not, "I'm guilty, but don't investigate." Like, she was trying to protect them from something. "I need to talk to her," he said. Now, back in the detention cell. Isla had finally stopped shaking when she heard the door unlock. She looked up, expecting a guard with dinner. Instead, Alpha King Raiden filled the doorway, his massive frame backlit by torchlight from the corridor. Her wolf stirred weakly, responding to the mate bond despite everything. "Mate," it whispered. "Our mate is here." "He's not ours," Isla told it firmly. "He can never be ours." Raiden dismissed the guards with a gesture and stepped inside, the door closing behind him. In the small space, his presence was overwhelming, all alpha dominance and barely restrained power. "You lied to me," he said without preamble. Isla's heart hammered. "I confessed." "You confessed to something you didn't do." "I've spent the last 6 hours reviewing the evidence, and none of it makes sense. An Omega can't breach those wards. Can't touch the Moonstone without dying. Can't shatter it into pieces that suggest deliberate, knowledgeable destruction." He moved closer. "So I'm going to ask you one more time, and I want the truth. Why did you confess?" "I told you. I destroyed the relic." "Stop lying to me." The command in his voice made her wolf whimper in submission. But Isla was stronger than her wolf. She had to be. "I'm not lying." Raiden's eyes flashed with frustration. Then, surprisingly, he pulled out a chair from the writing desk and sat down, forcing himself to eye level with her. The gesture was so unexpected, an Alpha King making himself less threatening, that it caught Isla off guard. "Let me tell you what I think," he said, his voice calmer now. "I think you're one of the bravest, most foolish people I've ever met. I think you're protecting someone or something, and you've decided that your life is an acceptable price for that protection." He leaned forward. "But here's what you don't understand, Isla. I can't let you die for a lie. It's not who I am. It's not how I rule." The kindness in his voice was almost her undoing. "You don't know me," she whispered. "Then help me know you. Tell me why you're doing this." For a moment, one terrible, tempting moment, Isla almost did. almost told him everything about the witch-wolf bloodline, the curse that had been sealed in the moonstone for 5 centuries, the prophetic dream that had shown her what would happen if the seal remained intact, Raiden transforming into a mindless beast, slaughtering the pack, dying alone and hated. She'd seen it so clearly. The curse activating on the next full moon, 3 days from now. The way it would twist him from the inside out, using his alpha power as fuel. How the pack would turn on him, believing him possessed. How he would die thinking he was a monster. The only way to stop it had been to break the seal and transfer the curse to herself. To someone with witch-wolf blood who could contain it. But if she told him, he would try to save her. Would search for another way. And there was no other way. She'd checked. Spent months in the hidden archives, reading forbidden texts, consulting with the ghost of her grandmother who'd appeared in dreams. The curse needed a vessel. It was either Raiden or her. And she'd chosen herself. I can't, she finally said. I'm sorry, but I can't tell you. Raiden studied her for a long moment. Then he did something that shattered every wall she'd carefully built. He reached out and gently took her burned wrists in his hands. The contact sent electricity through her entire body. The mate bond roared to life, stronger than she'd ever felt it. Her wolf howled with joy and longing. And from the way Raiden's eyes widened, the way his breath caught, she knew he felt it too. You're my mate, he said, wonder and confusion warring in his voice. How? When did you? Isla jerked her hands back like she'd been burned. No, that's not. I can feel it. The bond. He stood abruptly, running both hands through his hair. How long have you known? It doesn't matter. It matters to me. His voice cracked slightly. You're my mate, Isla. My fated mate. And you are going to let them execute you without ever, he broke off, something like pain flashing across his face. Is that why you confessed? Because you didn't want the bond? Because you'd rather die then? No. The word burst out before she could stop it. That's not why. I would never. She pressed her hands to her face, fighting tears. This is exactly why I didn't want you to investigate. Why I needed this to be quick and simple. There's nothing simple about this. Raiden moved to her, cupping her face in his large hands, forcing her to look at him. Talk to me. Please. Whatever's happening, we can face it together. The tenderness in his touch, the genuine concern in his eyes, it was everything she'd ever wanted and couldn't have. You're wrong, Isla whispered. Some things can't be faced together. Some things require sacrifice. What kind of sacrifice? She pulled away from him, wrapping her arms around herself. The kind where only one person gets to survive. Understanding dawned in Raiden's eyes, followed by fierce determination. No. Whatever you think you're protecting me from, the answer is no. I don't accept sacrifices. I don't let my pack die for me, and I sure as hell don't let my mate die for me. You don't have a choice. I'm the Alpha King. I always have a choice. He closed the distance between them again, his presence overwhelming. And I choose you. Whatever this is, whatever you're afraid of, I choose you. The words hit Isla like a physical blow. She wanted them so badly. Wanted to believe in them. Wanted to fall into his arms and let him carry this burden with her. But she'd seen the future. Seen what the curse would do to him. And she would rather die 100 times than watch that happen. I'm sorry, she said, her voice breaking. But you don't get to choose me. Not this time. Before he could respond, before she could weaken any further, Isla turned her back on her mate and walked to the window, staring out at the moon. Behind her, she heard Raiden's ragged breathing. Felt the weight of everything unsaid pressing down on both of them. This conversation isn't over, he finally said. I'm going to find out the truth, Isla. With or without your help. And when I do, we're going to have a very different discussion about choices and sacrifices. He left without another word, the door closing with a finality that echoed in the small room. Isla sank to the floor, wrapped her arms around her knees, and finally let herself cry. She had 3 days until the full moon. 3 days until the curse would complete its transfer. 3 days to keep Raiden from discovering the truth and trying to save her. Because if he did, they would both die. And the entire pack would fall with them. Raiden didn't sleep that night. He stood in his private study, staring at the wall of portraits depicting every Alpha King who'd ruled the Silvercrest pack for the last 6 centuries. Their painted eyes seemed to judge him, to question whether he was worthy of the bloodline. My mate is in a tower cell, lying to protect me from something, and I don't even know what it is. His wolf paced restlessly inside his mind, furious at being separated from their newly discovered mate. The bond between them pulsed like a living heartbeat, pulling him toward the northern tower even as logic told him to keep his distance and think strategically. But strategy had never been harder. Because every instinct he possessed was screaming at him to storm that tower, claim his mate, and damn the consequences. A knock interrupted his spiraling thoughts. Enter. Caleb stepped inside, his arms full of ancient texts. His expression was grim. You need to see this. Now. Raiden turned from the portraits. What did you find? A journal. Hidden in the restricted section of the library. Caleb set the books on the desk with a heavy thud. It belonged to the first Alpha King's mate, a witch wolf named Morgana. She's the one who created the Moonstone seal. And according to this, the seal wasn't just containing a curse. It was containing the curse. The Alpha's corruption. Caleb's hands shook slightly as he opened the journal to a marked page. Every 13 generations, a madness is supposed to descend on the Alpha bloodline. It transforms the ruling Alpha into a mindless killing machine. Morgana sealed it away using her own life force and the combined power of her entire bloodline. Raiden's blood ran cold. 13 generations. You're the 13th Alpha King since the seal was created. The room seemed to tilt. Raiden gripped the edge of the desk, his mind racing. The curse was meant for him. The Moonstone had been protecting him, protecting the entire pack from a fate that should have activated. When, he demanded. When was it supposed to happen? Caleb's face was ashen. The next full moon after your 30th year. My birthday was 2 months ago. I know. The full moon was in 3 days. 3 days. Raiden's wolf snarled inside his mind, suddenly understanding what their mate had done. Why she'd confessed. Why she'd begged him not to investigate. She'd destroyed the seal to save him. And if Caleb's research was correct, that meant. The curse needs a vessel, Raiden said slowly. Morgana used her bloodline to contain it. If Isla destroyed the seal, and the curse is transferring, she must be from Morgana's bloodline. A descendant of the witch wolves. Caleb flipped to another page, showing a family tree drawn in fading ink. According to this, there was supposed to be a failsafe. If the seal ever broke prematurely, the nearest witch wolf descendant would automatically become the new vessel. It would save the Alpha, but at the cost of her life. Raiden finished, his voice hollow. The curse would consume her instead. Not immediately. But yes. Within a lunar cycle, maybe less. She'd lose her wolf first, then her strength, then. Caleb trailed off, unable to finish. Raiden was already moving, grabbing his coat from the back of his chair. Get Dane and Liam. Meet me in the tower. Bring every text you have on witch wolf magic and breaking curses. Raiden, wait. That's an order, Gamma. Caleb straightened, responding to the command in his Alpha's voice. Yes, Your Majesty. But you should know, according to Morgana's journal, the transference can't be reversed. Once the curse binds to a new vessel, trying to break it will kill both the vessel and anyone connected to the original bloodline. Meaning if I try to save Isla, we both die. And potentially anyone with Alpha blood in the pack. The curse could spread like a disease. Caleb's voice dropped. Morgana was very clear. The sacrifice is absolute. It's her or you. There's no third option. Raiden's hands clenched into fists. Then I'll make a third option. He strode out of the study, his heart pounding with a mixture of rage and determination. 3 days. He had 3 days to find a solution that every witchwolf for 13 generations had apparently missed. 3 days to save his mate. Or die trying. In the northern tower, Isla woke to the sound of footsteps on the stairs. Multiple footsteps. She sat up quickly, her heart racing. The mark on her forearm burned hotter than before. She could feel the curse settling deeper into her bones, claiming her piece by piece. Her wolf was barely a whisper now. By tomorrow, it would be gone entirely. The door burst open and Ryden strode in with Dane, Liam, and Caleb close behind. The Alpha King's expression was thunderous. "Witchwolf," he said without preamble. "You're from Morgana's bloodline." Isla's stomach dropped. No, he wasn't supposed to find out. Not yet. "I don't know what you're." "Don't." Ryden's voice was deadly quiet. "Don't you dare lie to me again. Not about this." He crossed the room in 3 strides, gripping her shoulders. "You took the curse. You destroyed the seal and bound it to yourself to save me. There was no point in denying it anymore." Isla met his eyes, lifting her chin. "Yes." The single word hung in the air like a confession. Ryden's grip tightened, but his touch remained careful, conscious of his strength. "How long did you know? About the curse, about what was going to happen to me?" 3 months. I started having dreams, visions maybe. My grandmother's spirit came to me. She told me about the bloodline, about the curse, about what would happen when you turned 30. Isla's voice remained steady despite the emotion churning inside her. "She showed me what you would become. How you'd slaughter the pack. How they'd have to put you down like a rabid animal. So you decided to die in my place. I decided to save you. There's a difference." No, Ryden released her shoulders only to cup her face in his hands, forcing her to hold his gaze. "There's no difference, and there's no world where I let you sacrifice yourself for me. Do you understand? None. It's already done. The curse is transferring. In 3 days, it'll be complete, and you'll be safe. And you'll be dead. Better me than you." Isla's composure finally cracked. "You're the Alpha King. The pack needs you. I'm nobody, just a low-ranked Omega who works in the kitchens. My life for yours is a fair trade." "Fair." Ryden's laugh was sharp and humorless. "You're my mate, Isla. My fated mate. There's nothing fair about losing you to save myself. You barely know me. I know enough." His thumbs brushed her cheekbones with devastating gentleness. "I know you're brave enough to confess to a crime you didn't commit. Smart enough to orchestrate this entire thing without anyone suspecting. Kind enough to sacrifice yourself for a pack that barely notices you exist." His voice dropped to a whisper. "And I know that now that I've found you, I'm not letting you go." Isla's eyes burned with unshed tears. "You don't have a choice. Stop telling me what choices I have." Ryden turned to Caleb. Tell her what you found." Caleb stepped forward, opening Morgana's journal. "There might be a way to break the curse without killing either of you. But it's theoretical. Morgana never tested it because it requires something that didn't exist in her time," Ryden finished. "A true mate bond between an Alpha King and a witchwolf descendant." "Which we have." Isla's heart stuttered. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that according to Morgana's research, the curse can only be broken by a power equal to the one that created it. She used her life force and the combined magic of her bloodline. But there's another source of power she mentions, one she could never access." Ryden's eyes blazed with hope and determination. "The completed mate bond between an alpha and a witchwolf. If we complete the claiming ceremony, our combined power might be strong enough to destroy the curse entirely." "Might be," Isla repeated. "You're talking about a theory. An untested theory. It's better than watching you die. And if it doesn't work? If we complete the bond and the curse spreads to you anyway?" Isla pulled away from his touch, wrapping her arms around herself. "Then we both die, and the pack loses its alpha and any chance of breaking the curse in the future." "She's right," Liam said quietly. "If the bonding ceremony fails, you could doom the entire pack." Ryden whirled on his cousin. "So, what would you have me do? Let my mate die?" I'd have you think like an alpha king instead of a male who just found his mate. Liam's voice was gentle but firm. Your duty is to the pack first. Always. My duty is to protect my people. And she's my people too. She's one wolf. The pack is 3,000. The words hit like a slap. Isla saw Ryden flinch, saw the terrible weight of leadership settling over his shoulders. He's right, she said softly. Your duty is to the pack, Ryden. Not to me. Don't you dare take his side. I'm not taking sides. I'm being realistic. Isla moved to the window, staring out at the moonlit forest. I knew what I was doing when I broke the seal. I accepted the consequences. You need to do the same. No. Ryden. I said no. He came up behind her, close enough that she could feel the heat of his body. I've spent my entire life putting the pack first. Making the hard choices. Sacrificing my own happiness for the good of the many. And I'll keep doing that for every member of this pack except you. Why? Because you're mine. The words were simple, absolute. And I protect what's mine. Before Isla could respond, a commotion erupted from the corridor outside. Shouting. The sound of running feet. Dane moved to the door, hand on his weapon. What's going on? A guard burst in, his face pale. Your Majesty, it's the Nightshade Pack. They're not waiting. They're attacking now. The northern border is under siege. Everything stopped. Ryden's expression shifted immediately from mate to Alpha King. How many? At least 500 warriors. They brought siege equipment. They knew we'd be weak without the Moonstone. The guard's eyes flicked to Isla with barely concealed hatred. They knew exactly when to strike. The implication was clear. Someone had told the Nightshade Pack about the broken seal. Assemble the warriors, Ryden commanded. Full defensive positions. Dane, you're with me. Liam, coordinate the civilian evacuation. Caleb, I need you to. Your Majesty, there's more. The guard's voice shook. The Nightshade Alpha sent a message. He says he'll call off the attack on one condition. What condition? He wants the traitor who destroyed the Moonstone. He wants Isla Kane. The guard swallowed hard. Delivered to him. Alive. Within the hour. Or he burns the pack to the ground. Silence fell like a blade. Isla felt the eyes of every wolf in the room turn to her. Her mind raced. The Nightshade Alpha, Jareth, was known for his cruelty. He'd been looking for an excuse to attack Silvercrest for years. The broken seal had given him the perfect opportunity. And now he wanted her. She didn't need to guess why. A witchwolf descendant carrying a curse. She'd be a weapon in the wrong hands. A way to destroy the Silvercrest pack from the inside while avoiding direct confrontation. No, Ryden said flatly. Absolutely not. Your Majesty, we don't have a choice, Liam said urgently. If we refuse, they'll attack. We're not ready. Without the Moonstone ceremonies, half our warriors are unbonded. We'll lose. Then we lose. I'm not handing over my mate to Jareth. It's not just about her anymore. It's about 3,000 lives. Ryden's eyes flashed gold. I said no. Isla's heart shattered and swelled at the same time. He was willing to let the pack burn rather than give her up. But she wasn't. I'll go, she said quietly. Every head turned toward her. Isla, no. It's the only way to save the pack. You know it is. She looked at Ryden, memorizing every detail of his face. This is what I was trying to tell you. Some sacrifices are necessary. This is mine. I won't allow it. You're the Alpha King. You have to. Isla stepped closer to him, placing her hand over his heart. She could feel it pounding beneath her palm. The pack comes first. You taught me that just by watching you lead. Don't abandon that principle now. Don't ask me to choose between you and them. I'm not asking. I'm making the choice for you. She rose on her tiptoes, pressing a gentle kiss to his cheek. Save the pack, Ryden. That's all I've ever wanted. Before he could grab her, before he could stop her, Isla turned to the guard. Tell Alpha Jareth he has a deal. I'll surrender myself within the hour. No. Ryden's roar shook the room. No one is making deals with Nightshade. No one is touching my mate. But Isla had already made her decision. And as she looked into Ryden's devastated eyes, she knew she'd just broken both their hearts. For the second time in 3 days. 30 minutes later, Isla stood at the border clearing, her hands bound in silver once again. Behind her, Ryden's entire contingent of warriors bristled with barely contained violence. The Alpha King himself stood at the front, his face a mask of cold fury. He tried everything to stop this. Ordered her confined. Threatened to attack Nightshade regardless of the consequences. Even attempted to invoke his authority as her mate to override her decision. But Isla had invoked something stronger, pack law. The law that said any pack member could offer themselves as tribute to prevent war. The law that even an Alpha King couldn't overturn without pack consensus. And the elders had consensus. 3,000 lives for one? It wasn't even a question. Across the clearing, the Nightshade warriors emerged from the forest. Hundreds of them, all armed, all eager for blood. At their head walked Alpha Jareth. He was tall and broad, with white blonde hair and ice blue eyes that held no warmth. His smile as he approached was the smile of a predator who'd just cornered his prey. Alpha King Ryden, he called out, his voice carrying across the distance. How gracious of you to honor our agreement. This isn't over, Jareth, Ryden growled. You have her now, but the moment you break the terms. The terms were simple. I get the traitor. I withdraw my forces. I'm a wolf of my word. Jareth's eyes slid to Isla, and something hungry flickered in their depths. Besides, I have exactly what I want. 2 Nightshade warriors moved forward to claim Isla. She didn't resist as they gripped her arms. Didn't look back at Ryden, because she knew if she did, she'd break. But she felt him. Through the mate bond, she felt his anguish, his rage, his desperate need to fight. I love you, she thought, sending the words down the bond. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you. I'm sorry for all of it. But I'd do it again. For you. Always for you. She felt his response like a roar in her mind. This isn't goodbye. Do you hear me, Isla? This isn't goodbye. Move out, Jareth commanded. The Nightshade warriors began retreating into the forest, dragging Isla with them. She allowed herself one last look at the pack she'd saved. At the territory she'd grown up in. At the mate she'd never get to claim. Ryden stood like a statue, every muscle locked tight with the effort of not attacking. But his eyes burned with a promise. And in that moment, Isla realized her mistake. She'd thought she was saving him by giving herself up. But she'd just given the Alpha King a reason to start a war. The Nightshade compound was nothing like Silvercrest territory, where Ryden's pack lands were filled with ancient forests and rolling hills that spoke of tradition and honor. Jareth's domain was stark and militant. Concrete buildings rose like tombstones against the night sky. Guard towers dotted the perimeter. Everything was designed for war, not community. Isla was dragged through the main gates and into a building that smelled of blood and fear. They threw her into a cell, actual bars this time, no gilded tower, and slammed the door shut with a metallic clang that echoed in her bones. She was alone. The mark on her arm burned with renewed intensity, and she could feel the curse spreading faster now. Stress accelerated the process. By morning, her wolf would be completely gone. Good, she thought bitterly. Better to lose it here than watching Ryden fight a war he can't win. Footsteps approached. Heavy. Confident. Alpha Jareth appeared outside her cell, his pale eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Comfortable. Isla didn't dignify that with a response. You're probably wondering why I wanted you specifically. Jareth leaned against the bars, studying her like a specimen. After all, the Silvercrest pack is weakened. I could have attacked and won without negotiating. Then why didn't you? Because you're worth more than a simple victory. His smile widened. You're a witchwolf, Lycan King, the last descendant of Morgana's bloodline. And you're currently carrying a curse that was meant to destroy the Alpha King of Silvercrest. Her blood ran cold. How do you know that? I have my sources. Let's just say someone in your pack is very unhappy with Raiden's leadership. They were eager to share information. He circled the cell slowly. Do you know what I can do with a curse like that? I can extract it, weaponize it, use it to destroy not just Silvercrest, but every alpha bloodline that stands against me. The curse can't be transferred again. It's bound to me until you die. Yes, I know. Which is why I have a witch on staff who specializes in extraction. Jareth's expression turned cold. It'll be excruciating, of course. Might take days. But in the end, I'll have the most powerful weapon the wolf world has ever seen. Isla's mind raced. If Jareth could extract the curse, he could use it against Raiden anyway. Everything she'd sacrificed, her mate, her pack, her life, would be for nothing. You're insane, she whispered. I'm ambitious. There's a difference. He straightened, brushing imaginary dust from his jacket. My witch will arrive tomorrow evening. I suggest you rest. You're going to need your strength. He walked away, his laughter echoing down the corridor. Isla sank to the floor, wrapping her arms around her knees. She'd been so focused on saving Raiden from the curse that she hadn't considered someone might try to use it as a weapon. She needed to escape. Or she needed to die before the witch arrived. Either way, she was running out of time. Back at Silvercrest, Raiden stood in the war room, staring at a map of Nightshade territory with murder in his eyes. 3 entry points, he said, pointing to locations on the map. Here, here, and here. We hit them simultaneously at dawn. Fast and brutal. Get in, extract Isla, get out. That's suicide, Liam said bluntly. Nightshade has 500 warriors. We'd be lucky to get past the outer defenses, let alone reach wherever they're keeping her. Then we'll die trying. And leave the pack without an alpha? Without leadership? While the curse is still active. Caleb shook his head. Think, Raiden. This is exactly what Jareth wants, for you to charge in recklessly and get yourself killed. Dane, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. What if we don't charge in? What if we negotiate? We have nothing to negotiate with, Raiden growled. Jareth has everything he wants. Does he? Dane moved to the map, studying it carefully. He wanted Isla because she's valuable. A witch wolf carrying a curse. But he doesn't know we have Morgana's journals. He doesn't know we might have a way to break the curse entirely. We don't have a way. We have a theory. But he doesn't know that. Dane's scarred face split into a grim smile. What if we offer him a trade? The journals for Isla. He thinks he's getting the key to weaponizing the curse. Instead, he's getting information that makes Isla worthless to him. Raiden considered this. It was clever. Deceptive. Exactly the kind of strategy that might work against an opponent as arrogant as Jareth. But it also meant lying about something that could save Isla's life. If we give him the journals, we lose our chance to break the curse, he said slowly. We make copies, Caleb suggested. Give him fakes mixed with real information. Enough to convince him they're authentic, but not enough to actually help him. And if he figures out they're fakes before we get Isla back, then we fight. Liam's expression was hard. But at least we'd have tried the smart approach first. Raiden wanted to argue. Wanted to insist on the direct assault, the violent solution, the one that satisfied his wolf's need to tear Jareth apart for touching their mate. But he was an Alpha King. And Alpha Kings didn't lead with emotion. Fine, he said through gritted teeth. We try it your way. Dane, send a message to Jareth. Tell him we want to negotiate in exchange. Caleb, start working on the fake journals. Make them convincing. What about the pack? Liam asked. The elders are already questioning your judgment. If they find out you're negotiating with Nightshade for an Omega who confessed to treason, I don't care what the elders think. You should. They can call for a leadership challenge. Raiden's eyes flashed gold. Let them try. The room fell silent at the threat in his voice. Finally, Caleb cleared his throat. There's something else you should know. I've been researching the mate bond between Alpha Kings and Witch Wolves. According to Morgana's journals, once the bond is discovered, Even if it's not completed, it creates a metaphysical connection that affects the curse. What kind of effect? The curse will try to destroy the bond. It sees the mate connection as a threat to its existence. Caleb's expression was troubled, which means the longer Isla is separated from you, the faster the curse will consume her. It'll use her feelings for you as fuel. Ryden felt like he'd been punched in the chest. How much faster? Days instead of weeks. Maybe less. Then we don't have time for negotiation. Ryden slammed his fist on the table, cracking the wood. We need to move now. If we attack now, we guarantee her death, Dane said firmly. Jareth will kill her the moment he sees us coming. At least with negotiation, we buy time. Every instinct Ryden possessed screamed at him to reject that logic, to gather his warriors and paint Nightshade territory red. But deep down, he knew Dane was right. 24 hours, he said finally. We give negotiation 24 hours. If Jareth doesn't agree to terms by then, we attack regardless of the consequences. Agreed, Liam said. As his inner circle dispersed to carry out their tasks, Ryden remained alone in the war room, staring at the map. He could feel Isla through the mate bond, a distant, pained presence on the edge of his consciousness. She was trying to shield him from her suffering, but he felt it anyway. The fear, the pain, the determination to protect him even from captivity. Hold on, he sent down the bond, not knowing if she could hear him. I'm coming for you. I don't care what it takes. I don't care what it costs. I'm coming. He thought he felt a flutter of response, a whisper of love and grief. And then nothing. The bond went quiet. Ryden's wolf howled inside his mind, clawing to get out, to run to their mate. But the man remained in control. Because the man understood what the wolf didn't. Sometimes the only way to save someone was to be patient, even when patience felt like dying. Meanwhile, in the Nightshade cells, Isla woke to the sound of someone approaching. Not Jareth this time. Someone quieter, stealthier. A figure appeared outside her cell, a woman with dark hair and green eyes that glowed faintly in the darkness. She wore the robes of a pack healer, but something about her felt wrong. Off. Hello, little wolf, the woman said, her voice like silk over steel. My name is Mara. I'm the witch Alpha Jareth mentioned. Isla scrambled to her feet, backing against the far wall of the cell. Stay away from me. Oh, I'm not here for the extraction. Not yet. Mara tilted her head, studying Isla with disturbing intensity. I'm here because I'm curious. You see, I've studied curses my entire life. I've never seen one quite like yours. Then you're in for a disappointment. I'm not letting you experiment on me. You won't have a choice. But that's tomorrow's problem. Mara moved closer to the bars, her eyes gleaming with something that might have been excitement. Tell me, do you know why the curse is spreading so quickly? Faster than it should be, even accounting for the stress of captivity. Isla's heart sank. How do you know it's spreading faster? I can see it. The death magic crawling under your skin. Consuming your wolf. Feeding on something. Mara's eyes widened with sudden understanding. Oh, how delicious. You have a mate bond. An incomplete one. That's none of your business. It's exactly my business. Don't you see? The curse is using your bond as fuel. Every moment you spend away from your mate, every emotion you feel for him, it's all feeding the curse. Making it stronger. Accelerating the transfer. Mara laughed, delighted. By the time I extract it tomorrow, it'll be at full power. Perfect for weaponization. Isla felt sick. Caleb had been right. The bond was killing her faster. And there was nothing she could do about it. There is one way to slow it down, Mara said conversationally, as if discussing the weather. You could sever the mate bond. Completely cut yourself off from your alpha. The emotional detachment would starve the curse, buy you more time. I would never. Of course you wouldn't. Because you love him. Mara's smile was cruel. Which makes this so much more tragic. You could save yourself, at least temporarily, but you won't, because it would mean giving up the one connection that makes this nightmare bearable. Get out. As you wish. But think about what I said. You have a choice. Slow death while clinging to a bond that can never be completed, or quick death while trying to protect an alpha who's probably already forgotten about you. Mara turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Isla? Alpha Jareth wanted me to tell you that he's received a communication from Silvercrest. Your precious Alpha King is willing to negotiate. How sweet. She walked away, leaving Isla alone with that devastating information. Raiden was negotiating with Jareth, which meant he was trying to get her back, which meant he was walking into a trap. Isla sank to the floor, pressing her hands to her face. The curse burned hotter, feeding on her anguish, her love, her desperate need to protect the male who was trying to save her. Don't come for me, she sent down the bond, not knowing if he could hear her. Please, Raiden. Let me go. Save yourself and the pack. Don't throw everything away for me. But even as she thought the words, she knew he wouldn't listen. Because he was just as stubborn as she was. Just as willing to sacrifice everything for the person he loved. And that was going to get them both killed. The next morning, Jareth's response to Raiden's negotiation request arrived at dawn. Dane brought the message to Raiden's study, his expression grim. He's agreed to meet. Neutral territory. Tomorrow at sunset. What are his terms? He wants you to come alone. Just you and him. He says if you bring warriors, the deal is off and Isla dies. Raiden's jaw clenched. It's a trap. Obviously. But it's also our best chance to get her back. Dane set the message on the desk. He specified the old ruins at the border. The ones where the first treaty between our packs was signed. Symbolic. And strategic. The ruins have multiple exit points. Easy to surround and ambush. Dane leaned against the wall, arms crossed. What do you want to do? Raiden was quiet for a long moment, thinking through scenarios, calculating risks. Finally, he said, I'm going to accept his terms. What? I'll meet him alone as requested. But we'll have backup, hidden, far enough away that his scouts won't detect them. If the negotiation works, great. If it's a trap, Raiden's smile was cold and sharp. Then we spring our own. That's incredibly risky. Everything about this situation is risky. At least this way, we control some of the variables. Raiden moved to the window, staring out at the forest. Send the acceptance. Tell Jareth I'll be there tomorrow at sunset. Alone. As Dane left to carry out the order, Liam appeared in the doorway. The pack is getting restless. The elders want to speak with you. Tell them I'm busy. Raiden, you can't keep avoiding them. They're questioning whether you're fit to lead if you're willing to risk everything for 1 Omega. Then they can challenge me. Raiden turned from the window, his eyes blazing. I'm done pretending that Isla is just 1 Omega. She's my mate. My fated mate. And I will burn this entire territory to ash before I let her die in captivity. Liam held up his hands. I'm on your side. I'm just warning you that the pack might not be. The pack will follow me or they won't. That's their choice. But I'm not abandoning my mate to appease wolves who don't understand what the mate bond means. Even if it costs you your throne? Even then. The conviction in Raiden's voice left no room for argument. Liam sighed. Then I hope your plan works. Because if it doesn't, we're all going to pay the price. After Liam left, Raiden allowed himself a moment of vulnerability. He closed his eyes and reached for the mate bond, searching for Isla's presence. It was fainter than before. Weaker. Like a candle flickering in a storm. But it was there. She was still alive. Still fighting. One more day, he promised her. Hold on for one more day. I'm coming for you, my stubborn, brave, infuriating mate. And when I get you back, we're going to have a very long discussion about sacrificing yourself without my permission. He thought he felt a flicker of response. A ghost of a laugh, maybe. Or maybe just wishful thinking. Either way, it was enough to keep him going. Tomorrow at sunset, he would face Jareth. And one way or another, he would bring Isla home. Or die trying. The day of the meeting dawned gray and cold, as if the sky itself sensed the coming confrontation. Isla woke to find her wolf completely gone. The absence was like losing a limb, a hollow space inside her where her other half should have been. She pressed her hand to her chest, feeling for that familiar presence, but found only emptiness and the relentless burn of the curse. She had maybe 2 days left. 3 if she was lucky. The cell door clanged open, and 2 guards entered. Alpha Jareth wants to see you. They hauled her to her feet and dragged her through the compound. Not to Jareth's office, as she expected, but to a balcony overlooking the border ruins. Jareth stood there, a telescope in his hands, watching something in the distance. Ah, Isla. Perfect timing. He gestured toward the ruins. Your Alpha King is on his way. Right on schedule. Isla's heart lurched. You're really going to negotiate? Negotiate. Jareth laughed. Oh, sweet girl. I'm going to kill him. Right in front of you. And then Mara is going to extract that curse and make me the most powerful alpha in the territory. You gave your word. To a dead man. Words mean nothing to the dead. He lowered the telescope, his ice blue eyes gleaming with malice. Did you really think I'd let the Alpha King of Silvercrest walk away? This was always going to end in blood. Isla lunged for him, but the guards held her back. You bastard. This is supposed to be neutral ground. Sacred ground. Sacred to wolves who value honor. I value power. Jareth turned back to the view. I've positioned snipers in the ruins. The moment Raiden arrives, they'll open fire. Silver bullets, of course. Even an Alpha King can't survive a dozen silver bullets to vital organs. Horror flooded through Isla. She'd walked into Jareth's hands thinking she was saving Raiden. Instead, she'd given him the perfect opportunity to kill her mate. And there was nothing she could do to stop it. Please, she whispered. Please don't do this. Begging doesn't suit you. Jareth checked his watch. 20 minutes until sunset. I suggest you watch closely. I want you to see the exact moment your mate realizes he's been betrayed. The guards forced her to the balcony railing, holding her in place. Isla reached desperately for the mate bond, trying to send a warning, but it was so weak now. Like shouting into a void and hoping someone heard. Raiden, it's a trap. Don't go to the ruins. Please. It's a trap. She didn't know if the message reached him. All she could do was watch and pray. At the border ruins, Raiden stood among the ancient stones, alone as promised, watching the sun sink toward the horizon. Every instinct screamed that this was a trap. But he'd come anyway, because the alternative was leaving Isla in Jareth's hands. His backup was positioned a mile away, close enough to respond if things went wrong, far enough to avoid detection. Dane, Liam, Caleb, and 50 of his best warriors, all waiting for his signal. The fake journals were in a leather satchel at his feet. Convincing forgeries mixed with just enough real information to pass a cursory inspection. Raiden closed his eyes, reaching for the mate bond. Isla's presence was barely a whisper now. Fading. Dying. And then something. A surge of emotion so strong it nearly drove him to his knees. Trap. Don't go. Trap. His eyes snapped open just as he caught a glint of metal in the ruins above him. Snipers. Raiden dove behind a stone pillar as the first shot rang out, the silver bullet embedding itself in the rock where his head had been seconds before. More shots followed, a deadly rain from multiple directions. They'd been waiting for him. This was never meant to be a negotiation. Raiden shifted mid-dive, his wolf form erupting forth in a surge of power. As a massive black wolf, he was faster, harder to hit, and infinitely more dangerous. He moved through the ruins like a shadow, using the ancient stones for cover while his mind raced. The snipers were positioned in a circle. At least 12 of them. All with silver ammunition. He needed to get out of the kill zone and signal his warriors. But first, a scent hit him. Familiar and devastating. Isla. She was here. Close. Somewhere above the ruins. Raiden's wolf snarled, torn between retreat and attack. Every tactical bone in his body said to fall back, regroup, come back with his warriors. But his mate was right there. The decision was made before he even realized he'd made it. Raiden charged. On the balcony, Isla watched in horror as Raiden shifted and began fighting his way through the ambush. He was magnificent, a blur of black fur and lethal grace, taking down snipers with ruthless efficiency. But there were too many. For every wolf he dropped, 2 more appeared. And he was fighting his way toward the compound. Toward her. Foolish, Jareth murmured, watching through the telescope. He should be running. Instead, he's going to get himself killed trying to save you. Let me go, Isla pleaded. Call off your wolves. I'll give you whatever you want. I already have what I want. I have you, and soon I'll have a dead Alpha King and a weaponized curse. Jareth snapped his fingers at the guards. Take her to the extraction chamber. Mara is waiting. No. Isla struggled, but without her wolf, she was just human. Weak. Helpless. The guards dragged her from the balcony, and the last thing she saw was Raiden fighting against impossible odds, refusing to retreat, coming for her even though it meant his death. I'm sorry, she thought desperately. I'm so sorry. I ruined everything. They threw her into a room that reeked of old magic and pain. Mara stood at the center, surrounded by candles and ritual circles drawn in what looked like blood. Perfect timing, the witch said. The extraction works best when the subject is experiencing peak emotional distress. And watching your mate die? That should do nicely. He's not going to die, Isla said, with more conviction than she felt. He's the Alpha King. He's survived worse than this. Has he survived this? Mara gestured to a mirror on the wall. It shimmered with magic, showing Raiden's fight in real time. He'd reached the compound walls, but he was bleeding from multiple wounds. Silver poisoning was setting in. Isla could see it in the way his movements were slowing, becoming less precise. A dozen Nightshade warriors surrounded him, all armed with silver weapons. He was going to die. And it was all her fault. Now then, Mara said, approaching with a curved blade that gleamed with dark enchantments. Let's begin. In the compound yard, Raiden shifted back to human form, blood streaming from wounds across his chest and arms. The silver poisoning made his limbs feel like lead, but he refused to fall. Nightshade warriors circled him, weapons drawn, waiting for orders. And then Jareth appeared, descending the compound steps with a smile that promised violence. Alpha King Raiden, he said mockingly. How kind of you to deliver yourself to me. I was expecting this to be more difficult. Where is she? Raiden's voice was rough, his wolf barely contained despite the silver in his system. Isla? She's with my witch. Being prepared for extraction. Jareth circled him slowly. By tomorrow, I'll have the curse that was meant for you. I'll use it to destroy every alpha bloodline in the region. Starting with yours. You'll have to kill me first. That was always the plan. Jareth drew a silver blade from his belt. Any last words? Raiden met his eyes and smiled. It was not a nice smile. Just 3, he said. Dane, now would be good. Jareth's expression shifted to confusion, and then to shock as howls erupted from the forest surrounding the compound. 50 Silvercrest warriors poured through the gates, catching the Nightshade pack completely off guard. Raiden had never planned to come alone. The backup a mile away? A decoy. His real warriors had been positioned around the compound since last night, waiting for a signal. The signal that had just been given. Chaos erupted. Raiden used the distraction to lunge at Jareth, tackling him to the ground despite the silver poisoning. They grappled viciously, alpha against alpha, both fighting for dominance. You think you've won? Jareth snarled, driving a knee into Raiden's wounded side. Even if you defeat me, Isla is already dead. Mara started the extraction the moment your warriors attacked. The words hit Raiden like a physical blow. No. He threw Jareth off with a burst of desperate strength and ran. Toward the compound. Toward the scent of dark magic and his dying mate. Nightshade warriors tried to stop him. He tore through them like paper, fueled by desperation and the primal need to reach Isla before it was too late. The mate bond was nearly gone now. Just the faintest thread connecting them. Hold on, he begged. Please, Isla. Hold on. He crashed through a door, following the scent of blood and magic, and found himself in a chamber painted with ritual circles. Mara stood at the center, her hands glowing with dark power. And Isla was on her knees, her back arched in agony, as black tendrils of curse energy writhed around her like living things. Blood ran from her nose, her ears, the corners of her eyes. She was dying right in front of him. Stop. Raiden roared. Mara barely glanced at him. Too late, Alpha King. The extraction has begun. If I stop now, she dies instantly. If I continue, she might survive long enough to watch me pull the curse from her bones. Her smile was vicious. Either way, you lose. Raiden's mind raced. He couldn't stop the extraction without killing Isla. But if Mara completed it, she'd have the curse as a weapon. There was only one option. The one he'd been trying to avoid. The one that might kill them both. Raiden crossed the ritual circle, breaking through Mara's wards with sheer alpha will. The witch screamed in outrage, but he ignored her. He dropped to his knees in front of Isla and cupped her face in his bloodied hands. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused, and filled with pain. Raiden, she whispered. You shouldn't be here. I'm exactly where I need to be. He pressed his forehead to hers. Listen to me. The mate bond, completing it might break the curse. Or it might kill us both. But it's the only chance we have. No, Isla breathed. Too dangerous. The pack. The pack has survived worse. But I can't survive without you. His voice cracked. Let me try, Isla. Let me try to save you. Tears streamed down her face. I don't want you to die for me. Then live for me. Live, and let me love you the way you deserve to be loved. Isla's hand came up, trembling, to touch his face. If this doesn't work, it will work. It has to. Raiden leaned in, his lips hovering over hers. Do you accept me as your mate? Do you accept this bond, knowing it might be the last thing either of us does? Around them, Mara's extraction magic faltered, sensing the competing power rising between them. Isla looked into Raiden's eyes and saw everything she'd ever wanted. Everything she'd tried to protect him from. Everything she'd been too afraid to claim. Yes, she whispered. I accept you. As my mate. As my alpha. As my everything. The moment the words left her lips, Raiden kissed her. And the world exploded. The mate bond snapped into place with the force of a supernova. Power, ancient, primal, impossible, surged through both of them. The curse inside Isla recoiled, sensing a threat it couldn't fight. Because the curse was designed to corrupt a single bloodline. It had no defense against two bloodlines merging. Against witchwolf magic and alpha power combining into something new. Something the first Alpha King and Morgana had never achieved because they'd sealed the curse before completing their own bond. The curse writhed, trying to escape, to find a new host. But there was nowhere to go. Isla and Raiden held each other as the power built between them, burning away the darkness, purging the corruption that had haunted both their bloodlines for 13 generations. Mara screamed, her extraction spell-shattering. The ritual circles exploded in blinding light. And then, silence. Raiden opened his eyes to find himself still kneeling on the floor, Isla clutched against his chest. She was breathing. Alive. And through the mate bond, now blazing bright and unbreakable between them, he could feel her wolf. Whole. Healed. There. It worked, Isla gasped, her hands fisting in his shirt. It actually worked. Of course it worked. Raiden pulled back just enough to see her face, to reassure himself that she was truly okay. I told you it would. You said it had to work. That's not the same as knowing it would. Semantics. He kissed her again, softer this time, savoring the taste of her, the warmth of her, the impossible reality that she was alive and his. A groan from across the room reminded them they weren't alone. Mara lay crumpled against the wall, her magic shattered. She stared at them with wide, disbelieving eyes. Impossible. The curse was absolute. It couldn't be destroyed, only transferred. You forgot one thing, Isla said, rising to her feet with Ryden's help. Power thrummed through her, not just her wolf, but something more. The witch-wolf magic that had been dormant in her bloodline, awakened by the completed bond. Love is stronger than any curse. How poetic, Jareth's voice came from the doorway. But ultimately meaningless. They turned to find the Nightshade Alpha standing there, covered in blood, some his own, some not. Behind him, the sounds of fighting had died down. Your warriors are defeated, Jareth said coldly. Surrounded. I'm offering you one chance to surrender, Ryden. You and your mate leave peacefully, and I let the rest of your pack live. Ryden's laugh was dark and utterly without humor. You think you've won? Look outside, Jareth. The Nightshade Alpha frowned, then moved to the window. His face went pale. Because standing in the compound yard, very much alive and victorious, was the entire Silvercrest warrior contingent. And surrounding them were the Nightshade Pack members, not the warriors, but the civilians. The Omegas, the elders, the children. And they were all kneeling. In submission. To Ryden. What is this? Jareth demanded. Dane stepped forward, his scarred face impassive. Your pack witnessed everything, Alpha Jareth. They saw you break sacred ground. Saw you try to murder an Alpha King during a negotiation. Saw you torture a helpless Omega. His voice carried through the compound. They've invoked the right of transfer. They're requesting Silvercrest protection and renouncing your leadership. They can't, that's not, Jareth sputtered. It's ancient law, Caleb called out, holding up one of the real journals, not the fakes. Any pack can renounce an alpha who violates sacred ground. And every wolf here witnessed your violation. Jareth's face twisted with rage. He lunged at Ryden, shifting mid-leap into his wolf form, a massive gray beast with murder in its eyes. But he never made contact. Because Isla stepped between them, her hand raised, and spoke a single word in a language that hadn't been heard in centuries. Witch-wolf magic. Jareth froze midair, his wolf form paralyzed by power that predated pack law, that predated even the first Alpha King. You wanted to weaponize a curse, Isla said softly. You forgot that curses come with guardians. And I am the last guardian of Morgana's bloodline. She lowered her hand, and Jareth crashed to the floor, shifting back to human form, gasping for breath. The Nightshade Pack is under Silvercrest protection, Ryden declared, his alpha voice carrying to every wolf in the compound. Jareth is stripped of his title and will stand trial for his crimes. Anyone who wishes to contest this decision may challenge me now. Silence. Not a single wolf moved. Jareth lay on the floor, defeated, broken, staring up at the two people who had just destroyed everything he'd built. This isn't over, he rasped. Yes, Ryden said calmly. It is. He nodded to Dane, who stepped forward with silver chains. As they bound Jareth, Isla swayed slightly. The adrenaline was wearing off, and she could feel the toll the last few days had taken on her body. Ryden caught her immediately, sweeping her into his arms. We need to get you to a healer. I'm fine. The bond, it healed most of the damage. Most isn't all. And you're going to let our healers examine you, even if I have to carry you the entire way home. Our healers, Isla repeated softly. Home. Yes. Our pack. Our home. Ryden kissed her forehead. You're the Alpha Queen now, whether you like it or not. The pack will have to accept it. What if they don't? What if the elders? Then the elders can challenge me. And I'll defeat them. And then we'll find new elders. His smile was fierce and loving and utterly uncompromising. I told you, Isla. I chose you. And that choice is final. She rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, feeling the mate bond pulse between them like a second heartbeat. They'd survived the impossible. But as Ryden carried her out of the Nightshade compound, as the two packs merged in the yard behind them, Isla couldn't shake the feeling that something was still wrong. The curse was gone. They were bonded. Jareth was defeated. So why did she still feel like they were missing something? Why did the mark on her arm, the seal of the witch-wolves, still burn? She looked down at it and froze. The mark had changed. Instead of the simple crescent moon and thorns, there was now a second symbol intertwined with it. A wolf's head. Ryden's wolf. And beneath both symbols, written in a script so small she almost missed it, were words in the old language. The first seal is broken. 6 remain. When all 7 fall, the true darkness wakes. Isla's blood turned to ice. They hadn't broken the curse. They'd only broken the first seal. And there were 6 more. Isla said nothing about the mark. Not as Ryden carried her out of Nightshade territory. Not as the Silvercrest healers examined her and declared the curse successfully broken. Not as the combined packs celebrated their victory and the peaceful absorption of Nightshade wolves into Silvercrest. She smiled. She accepted congratulations. She let Ryden introduce her as his mate and future Alpha Queen. And all the while, the words burned in her mind. 6 remain. 3 days after the battle, the celebrations finally died down. Ryden's wounds had healed, the new pack members were settling in, and life was beginning to return to something resembling normal. Except nothing was normal, because Isla was having the dreams again. Late at night, in the Alpha's quarters, Isla woke gasping, her grandmother's voice still echoing in her ears. The seals were never meant to be broken, child. Each one contains a piece of the original darkness. And when all 7 are shattered, the Void King will wake. She sat up carefully, trying not to disturb Ryden, who slept beside her. His arm was draped protectively over her waist even in sleep, as if afraid she might disappear. The mark on her arm throbbed with each heartbeat. Isla slipped out of bed and moved to the window, staring out at the moonlit forest. Through the mate bond, she could feel Ryden's peaceful contentment, his relief that she was safe and by his side. She couldn't tell him. If she told him about the seals, he would try to fix it. Would try to find a solution. Would risk himself and the pack to save her again. And according to her grandmother's warnings, this was bigger than them. Bigger than one pack or one Alpha King. This was about preventing an ancient evil from destroying everything. You are the seal keeper now, her grandmother had said in the dream. The responsibility passes to you. 6 seals remain hidden across the territories. You must find them. Protect them. Never let them break. What happens if they break? The Void King rises. And all wolves, all shifters everywhere, will fall. Isla pressed her forehead against the cool glass, fighting tears. She'd thought breaking the first seal would save Ryden. And it had. But in doing so, she'd started a countdown to something infinitely worse. Arms wrapped around her from behind. Ryden's warmth enveloped her as he pulled her back against his chest. Can't sleep. Just thinking. About? Everything. The seals. The darkness. The fact that I might have doomed the world to save you. About how lucky I am, she lied. How close we came to losing each other. Ryden turned her in his arms, studying her face with those 2 perceptive eyes. You're lying to me again. Her heart skipped. What? I can feel it through the bond. This. He pressed his hand over her heart, where emotions swirled like a storm. Fear. Guilt. Something you're not telling me. Ryden. Don't. His voice was gentle but firm. Don't shut me out. Not now. Not after everything we've been through. He cupped her face. Whatever it is, we face it together. That's what mates do. Isla wanted to tell him so badly. Wanted to share the burden that was crushing her under its weight. But the memory of watching him nearly die in the Nightshade compound was too fresh. Too raw. I just need time, she said finally. To process everything. The curse, the bond, becoming Alpha Queen. It's a lot. It wasn't entirely a lie, but it wasn't the whole truth either. Raiden searched her eyes for a long moment, then sighed. All right, I won't push. But Isla. He pressed a kiss to her forehead. When you're ready to talk about whatever's really bothering you, I'm here. Always. The tenderness in his voice almost broke her. I'm trying to protect you, she thought desperately. Can't you see that? But she just nodded and let him lead her back to bed. The next morning, the pack meeting was tense. Elder Morrigan stood at the center of the great hall, her ancient face set in disapproving lines. Behind her, Elders Thorn and Marcus wore similar expressions. The entire pack had gathered, both Silvercrest and former Nightshade wolves, to witness what everyone knew was coming. A challenge to Raiden's authority. Alpha King, Morrigan began, her voice carrying through the hall. You have asked us to accept many things. The absorption of a rival pack. The elevation of an Omega to Alpha Queen. The breaking of laws that have stood for centuries. Raiden stood on the raised platform with Isla at his side, his expression unreadable. I have. And you did all of this without consulting the Council of Elders. Without seeking wisdom from those who have guided this pack for generations. I did what was necessary to save the pack and claim my mate. I won't apologize for either decision. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some supportive, some skeptical. No one is asking for an apology, Elder Thorn said. But we are asking for accountability. You risked everything, our safety, our future, our very existence, for one wolf. How do we know you won't do it again? You don't, Raiden said bluntly. Because if my mate is ever threatened again, I will absolutely risk everything to save her. That's what the mate bond means. And any Alpha King who tells you different is lying. More murmurs. Louder this time. Isla's stomach churned. This was exactly what she'd feared, the pack turning against Raiden because of her. Perhaps, Elder Marcus said slowly, the issue is not the mate bond itself, but the choice of mate. An Omega with no training, no preparation for leadership, no understanding of pack law. How can she be Alpha Queen? The words hit like a physical blow. Isla had known this was coming. Had known the pack would question her worthiness. But hearing it said aloud, in front of everyone, still hurt. Isla is a witch wolf, Caleb spoke up from his position near the platform. The last descendant of Morgana's bloodline. She wielded magic that hasn't been seen in centuries. She helped break a curse that would have destroyed us all. If that doesn't qualify her for leadership, I don't know what does. Magic doesn't make a leader, Morrigan countered. Wisdom does. Experience does. Strength does. Then let me prove my strength. Every head turned toward Isla. She stepped forward, her heart pounding, but her voice steady. You want to know if I'm worthy of being Alpha Queen? Challenge me. Right here, right now. Anyone who doubts me, step forward and test me. Raiden's hand shot out, gripping her arm. Isla, no. Yes. She met his eyes, trying to convey reassurance through the bond. This is the only way to settle this. Either I earn their respect, or I step aside. You're not stepping aside. You're my mate. My queen. End of discussion. A queen the pack doesn't accept is worse than no queen at all. Isla turned back to the elders. Those are the rules, aren't they? Any wolf can challenge for position. So I'm making it easy. Challenge me now, all at once if you want. Prove I'm too weak to lead. The hall fell silent. Finally, Elder Morrigan stepped forward. You're an Omega who just recovered from a curse. You have no wolf training, no combat experience. This would be a massacre. Then it'll be quick. Isla's smile was sharp. Unless you're afraid? The challenge in her voice rippled through the pack. Elder Thorn's eyes narrowed. You have courage, I'll give you that. But courage without strength is just foolishness. There's only one way to find out which I have. The three elders looked at each other, then at the assembled pack. Very well, Morrigan said. But not us. We're too old for combat challenges. She turned to the crowd. Is there any wolf here who wishes to challenge Isla Kane for her position as Alpha Queen? Silence. Nobody moved. Isla felt a flicker of hope, and then a voice called out from the back of the hall. I challenge. The crowd parted, revealing a tall woman with midnight black hair and amber eyes. She wore the leathers of a warrior, and every movement radiated lethal grace. Isla's blood ran cold. Because the woman wasn't from Silvercrest. She was one of the former Nightshade Wolves. And from the way the other Nightshade pack members reacted, some with hope, some with fear, she was someone important. Who are you? Raiden demanded. My name is Kimberly. I was Jareth's beta. The woman moved through the crowd with predatory confidence. I didn't challenge his leadership when he violated sacred ground because I was following orders. But now Jareth is imprisoned, and this pack needs a strong alpha queen. Not an Omega who got lucky with magic. Kimberly, don't do this, Dane warned. You just swore loyalty to Silvercrest. Challenging the alpha queen is my right under pack law. Unless Silvercrest doesn't honor pack law. Raiden's jaw clenched. We honor it. But Isla doesn't have to accept your challenge. She can name a champion to fight in her place. No, Isla said immediately. I accept. Isla. I accept, she repeated, louder. When and where? Kimberly's smile was cold. Here. Now. Combat circle. First blood ends the challenge. The pack began rearranging themselves, forming a large circle in the center of the hall. An ancient tradition for settling disputes. Raiden pulled Isla aside, his face tight with concern. You don't have to do this. Kimberly was Jareth's beta for a reason. She's a trained warrior. You're still recovering. I know what I'm doing. Do you? Because this looks like you're trying to get yourself killed. I'm trying to prove I belong here. Isla touched his face gently. Trust me. Please. Through the bond, she felt his conflict. His desperate need to protect her warring with his respect for her choice. Finally, reluctantly, he stepped back. If she tries to kill you instead of just drawing first blood, all bets are off. I'm intervening. Fair enough. Isla walked into the combat circle, her heart racing, but her mind clear. She'd been training in secret since the curse broke. Not with weapons or physical combat. She knew she'd never match a warrior in pure strength. But with magic. The witchwolf power that had awakened when she and Raiden completed their bond. Power she'd been learning to control through meditation and instinct. Power nobody knew about except her. Kimberly entered the circle from the opposite side, already shifting into a defensive stance. Last chance to back down, little Omega. I'm not backing down. And I'm not an Omega anymore. Isla lifted her chin. I'm the Alpha Queen. And it's time everyone understood what that means. Kimberly attacked. She was fast, blindingly fast, closing the distance between them in a heartbeat. Isla didn't try to dodge. Instead, she spoke a word in the old language and thrust her hand forward. Invisible force slammed into Kimberly mid-leap, stopping her attack cold. The former beta crashed to the ground, skidding across the floor. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Kimberly rolled to her feet, eyes wide with shock. What? How did you? I'm a witchwolf, Isla said calmly. Did you think that just meant I could break curses? She advanced slowly, power crackling around her fingertips. The witchwolves were the first shifters. The first magic users. We shaped pack law. Created the bonds that connect every wolf to their mate, their pack, their alpha. Kimberly attacked again, trying to use speed and ferocity to overwhelm her. Isla caught her mid-strike with another word of power, holding the woman suspended in the air. I don't want to hurt you, Isla said. But I will defend my position. I will defend my mate. And I will defend this pack. She released Kimberly, letting her drop to the ground. Yield. Kimberly scrambled to her feet, breathing hard. Pride and shock warred in her expression. Then she did something unexpected. She shifted partially, claws extending, fangs dropping, and launched one final desperate attack. Not at Isla. At Raiden. Everything slowed down. Isla saw Kimberly's trajectory. Saw Raiden starting to react, but too slow, caught off guard by the betrayal. saw that Kimberly wasn't aiming to challenge, she was aiming to assassinate. And in that frozen moment, Isla understood. This wasn't about proving strength. This was a coordinated attack. Kimberly was still loyal to Jareth, and this was revenge. Not again, Isla thought with crystal clarity. I won't lose him again. Power exploded from her in a wave. Not controlled. Not measured. Pure protective instinct channeled through witch-wolf magic. The force hit Kimberly like a freight train, throwing her backward into the wall with enough power to crack stone. The woman slumped to the ground, unconscious. And Isla collapsed to her knees, the magical exhaustion hitting her all at once. Raiden was there instantly, catching her before she hit the floor. Isla, can you hear me? I'm okay, she gasped. Just used too much power. Healers. Now. Raiden's alpha command had wolves scrambling. But Isla gripped his shirt, pulling him close. Check Kimberly. She wasn't acting alone. That was an assassination attempt, not a challenge. There might be others. Raiden's eyes widened with understanding. He gestured to Dane and Liam. Lock down the hall. No one leaves until we've questioned everyone. And get Kimberly to the cells under heavy guard. As the pack erupted into controlled chaos, Isla felt consciousness slipping away. The last thing she heard before darkness claimed her was Raiden's voice, desperate and fierce. Stay with me. Don't you dare leave me. We survived everything else together, we're surviving this too. And the last thing she felt was the mark on her arm burning hotter than ever. Because she'd used too much power. Had tapped into magic she didn't fully understand. And somewhere, somehow, she knew she'd just made a terrible mistake. When Isla woke, she was in the healer's wing. Raiden sat beside her bed, his head in his hands. Through the mate bond, she felt his anguish, his fear, his overwhelming relief as her eyes opened. How long, she croaked. 6 hours. He grabbed her hand, pressing it to his lips. You've been unconscious for 6 hours. The healers said you burned through your magical reserves. That you could have died if. I'm fine. You're not fine. You collapsed. He broke off, struggling for control. What were you thinking, using that much power? I was thinking that I wasn't going to let anyone hurt you. And I'm thinking that I can't watch you sacrifice yourself for me anymore. Raiden's voice cracked. Every time I turn around, you're throwing yourself in front of danger. Taking curses, accepting challenges, burning yourself out with magic. When does it stop, Isla? When you're safe. I'm the Alpha King. I'm supposed to protect you. And I'm your mate. I protect you right back. Isla struggled to sit up, ignoring the way her body protested. That's what this bond means, Raiden. We protect each other. Not you protecting me while I stand back and watch. They stared at each other, both breathing hard, emotions running high. Finally, Raiden slumped back in his chair. I hate this. I hate feeling helpless. I hate watching you put yourself in danger. I know. I feel the same way when you're in danger. Isla reached for his hand. But we can't let fear control us. We can't. She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes going wide. Because she'd just looked down at her arm. The mark had changed again. The wolf and crescent moon were still there. But now there were cracks running through the symbols. Like the seal was breaking from the inside. And beneath them, new words had appeared. Power calls to power. Magic seeks its source. The second seal weakens. 21 days remain. Isla's heart stopped. 21 days. 3 weeks. That's how long she had before the second seal broke. And if the pattern held, breaking the second seal would require another sacrifice. Another impossible choice. Another chance to lose everything. Isla. Raiden's voice was concerned. What's wrong? You went pale. She looked up at him, her mate, her love, her everything, and knew she couldn't tell him. If he knew about the seals, he would try to stop her from protecting them. Would try to find another way. And there was no other way. The Void King couldn't be allowed to wake. Not for one pack. Not for one Alpha King. Not even for the mate she loved more than life itself. Nothing, she lied, the word tasting like ash in her mouth. Just tired. The magic took more out of me than I thought. Ryden studied her for a long moment, and she could feel his suspicion through the bond. But he didn't push. Just nodded and pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her like he could protect her from the world through sheer force of will. Isla buried her face in his chest and tried not to cry, because she'd just realized something terrible. To protect Ryden, to protect everyone, she was going to have to push him away. Was going to have to make him hate her. Because if he knew what was coming, he would never let her do what needed to be done. And 21 days wasn't nearly enough time to figure out how to save the world without breaking both their hearts. Again. The next 2 weeks were the hardest of Isla's life. She spent her days learning to be Alpha Queen, attending council meetings, settling disputes, helping integrate the former Nightshade wolves into pack life. She smiled. She led. She pretended everything was fine. And she spent her nights researching. The pack library had a restricted section that only the Alpha King and his inner circle could access. Isla now had that access, and she used it ruthlessly, poring over ancient texts about the witch wolves, the seals, and the Void King. What she learned terrified her. The Void King wasn't just an ancient evil. He was the first darkness, the thing that existed before shifters, before magic, before light itself. The witch wolves had imprisoned him using 7 seals, each one anchored to a different aspect of shifter nature: leadership, loyalty, love, sacrifice, strength, wisdom, and unity. The curse she'd broken had been the seal of sacrifice. She'd sacrificed herself to save Ryden, and in doing so, had fulfilled the seal's purpose and shattered it. Now the second seal, the seal of love, was weakening. Because she and Ryden had completed their mate bond, activating a power that the seals weren't designed to contain. And in 7 days, if she didn't find a way to reinforce the seal, it would break. Which meant she needed to leave. The thought made her physically ill. But the texts were clear. The seals were located in different territories, hidden and protected by magical wards that only a witch wolf could navigate. If she wanted to save the second seal, she had to travel to the Eastern Territories alone. Because bringing Ryden would only accelerate the seal's destruction. Their bond was too powerful, too bright. It was like a beacon drawing attention to the very thing they needed to protect. But how could she leave without explaining why? How could she push away the one person who meant everything to her? 14 days after the challenge, Isla stood in the Alpha study, watching Ryden work through paperwork for the pack. He was absorbed in trade agreements with neighboring territories, his brow furrowed in concentration. She memorized every detail of this moment. The way lamplight caught the sharp angles of his face. The slight frown when he found an unfavorable clause. The unconscious way he reached for her through the bond, just checking that she was there, safe, his. In 3 days, she would break his heart. The thought made her want to scream. "You're staring," Ryden said without looking up, but his lips curved in a slight smile. "Can't help it. You're beautiful when you're being all Alpha King." Now he did look up, one eyebrow raised. Beautiful. Devastatingly so. Isla moved around the desk, settling into his lap. His arms came around her automatically, pulling her close. "Have I told you today that I love you?" "Not since breakfast." I was beginning to worry. His tone was teasing, but his eyes were serious as he studied her face. "Are you okay? You've been distant lately. Just adjusting to everything. Being Alpha Queen is harder than I expected. You're doing an incredible job. The pack loves you. Even the elders have stopped grumbling about an Omega in a leadership position." He pressed a kiss to her temple. "I'm proud of you." The words were a knife to her heart. "I'm sorry," she thought desperately. "I'm so sorry for what I'm about to do." "Ryden," she said carefully. "If I ever had to leave for pack business or something, would you trust me?" His body tensed slightly. "That's an odd question." "Humor me." "Of course I'd trust you. You're my mate. My queen." His eyes narrowed. Why? Are you planning on going somewhere? No. Just, hypothetically. Isla. He turned her to face him fully, his hands cupping her face. What's going on? And don't tell me nothing. I can feel your anxiety through the bond. You're keeping something from me and it's eating you alive. She wanted to tell him so badly. Wanted to confess everything and let him help her figure this out. But she'd seen what happened when he tried to save her. He nearly died. The pack nearly fell. She couldn't risk that again. Not when the stakes were even higher. I just need you to know that I love you, she said instead. No matter what happens. No matter what you think or what anyone says. I love you more than anything in this world. You're scaring me. Don't be scared. Just remember that. Promise me you'll remember. Ryden's jaw clenched. I don't like this. You sound like you're saying goodbye. I'm not, her voice broke. I'm just telling you how I feel. He searched her eyes for a long moment, and she could feel his frustration and confusion through the bond. But finally, he nodded. I love you too. Always. They sat like that for a while, wrapped in each other's arms, both knowing something was coming but unable to stop it. 3 days later, Isla had everything planned. She would leave at dawn, before Ryden woke. She'd written a letter explaining that she needed to visit the Eastern Territories to research her witch-wolf heritage. It wasn't entirely a lie, she did need to research. She just wasn't coming back as soon as the letter implied. She'd packed light, changed into travel clothes, left the letter on Ryden's pillow. All she had to do was walk out the door. But her feet wouldn't move. Because once she crossed that threshold, once she pushed him away to protect him, there was a very real chance he would never forgive her. The mate bond would hold. She'd still feel him, and he'd still feel her. But trust? That was more fragile than magic or destiny. For the greater good, she reminded herself. To save everyone, including him. Isla took a deep breath and opened the door. And found Ryden standing on the other side, fully dressed, with Dane, Liam, and Caleb behind him. Her heart sank. Going somewhere? Ryden's voice was dangerously calm. How did you? You've been having nightmares every night for 2 weeks. Talking in your sleep about seals and darkness and something called a Void King. He stepped into the room, his presence overwhelming. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? That I wouldn't investigate? Isla's mouth went dry. Ryden. Caleb found references to the 7 seals in the restricted texts. Dane discovered that you've been researching travel routes to the Eastern Territories. And Liam noticed that you've been saying goodbye to every member of the pack like you're never coming back. Ryden's eyes flashed gold. So I'll ask you again, going somewhere? She could lie. Could try to cover this up. But looking at his face, at the hurt and betrayal already visible in his expression, she knew the time for lies was over. Yes, she said quietly. To the Eastern Territories. To protect the second seal before it breaks. The second seal, Ryden repeated slowly, implying there was a first seal, which I'm guessing was the curse. Yes. And you've known about this for 2 weeks. Yes. And you were going to leave without telling me. We're going to push me away and handle this alone. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. After everything we've been through, you were going to lie to me and walk away. I was trying to protect you. I don't need protection. I need a partner. I need a mate who trusts me enough to tell me when the world is ending. Ryden's composure finally cracked, pain bleeding through every word. How could you do this? How could you plan to leave like this? Because every time you try to save me, you nearly die. Isla's own control shattered. The curse almost killed you. Nightshade almost killed you. I can't. I won't watch you sacrifice yourself for me again. So your solution is to sacrifice yourself for me instead? If that's what it takes, yes. No. Ryden grabbed her shoulders, his grip firm but careful. No more sacrifices. No more lies. No more pushing each other away to play hero. His voice shook. I am your mate. That means we face everything together. The good, the bad, the world-ending darkness, all of it. Together. Tears streamed down Isla's face. You don't understand. The seal is weakening because of our bond. Our love is too powerful, too bright. It's destabilizing the magic. If I bring you with me, it could shatter the seal completely and release the Void King. Then we find another way. There is no other way. There's always another way. Ryden pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. And if there isn't, then we make one. Because I'm not losing you. Not to curses, not to seals, and definitely not to some ancient darkness that thinks it can separate mates. Through the bond, Isla felt his absolute conviction. His unshakable determination to stand by her no matter the cost. And she felt something else, a warmth spreading from where they touched, a resonance building between their souls. The mate bond flared to life, brighter than ever before. And the mark on Isla's arm began to glow. Ryden, something's happening. The glow intensified, and suddenly Isla was thrown into a vision. The vision. She stood in a vast darkness, facing 7 pillars of light. Each pillar pulsed with different energy, different aspects of shifter nature. The first pillar was cracked and dim, the seal of sacrifice already broken. The second pillar flickered weakly, on the verge of shattering. The seal of love. But as Isla watched, a new light appeared. Not from the pillars, but from behind her. She turned to find Ryden standing there, glowing with alpha power. And between them, the mate bond stretched like a bridge of pure light. A voice echoed through the darkness, her grandmother's voice. You misunderstood, child. The seals aren't breaking because of your love. They're breaking because they were always meant to break. The witch wolves never intended to imprison the Void King forever. They intended to create a power strong enough to destroy him. What power? The completed bond between an alpha king and a witch wolf descendant. The same bond that broke the first seal can strengthen the second. But only if you stop trying to do this alone. Only if you trust your mate completely. But the text said. The texts were written by wolves who didn't believe in happy endings. Who thought sacrifice was the only answer. Her grandmother's spirit materialized in the darkness, smiling sadly. But you're different. You're both different. You have something they never did, true unconditional love. And that, my dear child, is the only weapon that can defeat the darkness. The vision shattered. Isla gasped, finding herself back in Ryden's arms. He was holding her up, concern etched across his face. Isla? Talk to me. What just happened? I was wrong, she whispered. About everything. The seals aren't breaking because of our bond. They're breaking so our bond can become strong enough to destroy the Void King. My grandmother, she said the witch wolves planned it this way. That we're supposed to face this together. Together, Ryden repeated, something like relief flooding his expression. Not you sacrificing yourself. Not me charging in alone. Together. Together, Isla agreed. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I tried to push you away. I couldn't bear the thought of losing you. And I can't bear the thought of losing you. Which is why we stopped trying to protect each other by pushing each other away. He cupped her face, his touch infinitely gentle. We protect each other by standing side by side. Deal? Deal. They kissed, and the mate bond sang between them, stronger and brighter than ever before. When they pulled apart, Dane cleared his throat from the doorway. So, are we going to the Eastern Territories or what? Isla blinked. You think we're letting you two face ancient evil alone? Liam grinned. Not a chance. Where the Alpha King and Queen go, the pack follows. Besides, Caleb added, holding up several books. I've been researching the seals. If we're going to strengthen the second seal instead of breaking it, we'll need these texts. And someone who can actually read ancient witchwolf script. Which, fortunately, I can. Isla looked at the 3 males, Ryden's inner circle, who'd become her friends and protectors over the past weeks, and felt her throat tighten with emotion. Thank you, she managed. Don't thank us yet, Dane said darkly. The Eastern Territories are controlled by the Mountain Pack. And their alpha, Zane, doesn't exactly play nice with visitors. Then we'll have to convince him, Raiden said. We have 7 seals to protect and apparently an ancient evil to destroy. One territorial alpha isn't going to stop us. He looked at Isla, and she saw everything she loved in his eyes. Determination, strength, unwavering devotion. And for the first time since discovering the truth about the seals, she felt something other than despair. She felt hope, because she wasn't alone anymore, wasn't carrying this burden by herself. They would face the darkness together. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. 2 days later, at the border of the Eastern Territories, the mountain pack's lands were as harsh as their reputation. Towering peaks covered in snow, narrow passes that could easily become death traps, and patrols every few miles, all heavily armed and suspicious of outsiders. Raiden's group, himself, Isla, Dane, Liam, Caleb, and a small contingent of warriors, had been stopped 3 times already. Each time, they'd explained they needed to speak with Alpha Zane. Each time, they'd been turned away. This isn't working, Liam muttered as they made camp for the night. We need a new approach. What we need is for Zane to stop being paranoid and listen, Dane countered. Can you blame him? Isla stared up at the mountains, feeling the pull of the second seal somewhere in those peaks. We're a rival pack asking for access to his territory. For all he knows, we're scouting for an invasion. So how do we convince him we're not? Caleb asked. Isla looked at Raiden. Through the bond, she felt his mind working, strategizing. We tell him the truth, Raiden said finally. About the seals. About the Void King. About what's at stake. That's insane, Liam said. He'll think we're crazy. Or he'll understand that this is bigger than pack politics. Raiden stood, his decision made. Tomorrow morning, I'm requesting a formal audience with Alpha Zane. In person. And I'm bringing Isla with me. Raiden, that's dangerous, Dane protested. If it's a trap, then you'll be close enough to intervene. But I don't think it will be. Raiden looked at Isla. Sometimes you have to trust that other alphas understand when something threatens all shifters. This is one of those times. Isla nodded, though anxiety churned in her stomach. 7 days until the second seal broke. 7 days to convince a territorial alpha to help them. 7 days to figure out how to strengthen a seal that had stood for millennia. No pressure. That night, wrapped in Raiden's arms as the campfire crackled nearby, Isla allowed herself to feel afraid. What if we can't do this? She whispered. What if we fail? Then we fail together, Raiden said simply. But I don't think we will. You know why? Why? Because we have something the witch wolves who created the seals didn't have. Something the Void King can't understand. He pressed a kiss to her hair. We have each other. We have a pack that stands with us. We have hope. Hope seems like a thin shield against ancient darkness. Hope is how you defeated a curse that should have killed me. Hope is how you survived Jareth's captivity. Hope is how we've made it this far. Raiden tilted her chin up, meeting her eyes in the firelight. Don't discount hope, my love. Sometimes it's the strongest magic of all. Isla kissed him, pouring everything she felt into that connection. Love, gratitude, fear, determination. Through their bond, she felt him return it all tenfold. And somewhere in the distance, higher in the mountains, the second seal pulsed with faint light, responding to their love, preparing for the confrontation to come. Because in 7 days, they would either save the world or watch it fall into darkness. And this time, they would face it together, no matter what. Alpha Zane of the Mountain Pack was not what Isla expected. She'd imagined someone brutal and scarred, hardened by the harsh territory he ruled. Instead, the wolf who met them at the entrance to his stronghold was younger than Raiden, with warm brown eyes and an easy smile that seemed at odds with his fearsome reputation. Alpha King Raiden, Zane said, clasping Raiden's forearm in the traditional greeting. I was beginning to think you'd never ask for a formal audience. My patrols have turned you away 3 times. Your patrols were doing their job, Raiden replied diplomatically. I appreciate you agreeing to meet with us. Well, when an Alpha King travels to your territory with his mate and inner circle, you pay attention. Zane's gaze shifted to Isla, and something flickered in his expression recognition, maybe, or surprise. And you must be the witch wolf everyone's talking about. Isla Kane, the one who broke the Alpha's curse. News travels fast, Isla said carefully. News that interesting? Absolutely. Zane gestured for them to follow him into the stronghold. Come. We have much to discuss, and I suspect it's not a social call. The mountain pack's stronghold was carved directly into the mountain itself, a fortress of stone and ancient magic that had stood for centuries. They were led to a private council chamber where a fire roared in a massive hearth. Once they were seated and the guards dismissed, Zane's easy smile faded into something more serious. All right, he said. Tell me why the Alpha King of Silvercrest is really here. And please don't insult my intelligence by claiming it's just a diplomatic visit. Raiden looked at Isla. Through their bond, she felt his question, your call. How much do we trust him? All of it, she decided. We don't have time for anything else. The world is ending, Isla said bluntly. Or it will be in 5 days, unless we can strengthen the second seal of the Void King, which is located somewhere in your territory. Zane's expression didn't change for a long moment. Then he leaned back in his chair and laughed, a genuine, surprised sound. Well, that's certainly more interesting than a border dispute. His laughter faded, replaced by sharp intelligence. The Void King. I thought that was just a legend. A story elders tell pups to make them behave. It's real, Caleb said, pulling out one of the ancient texts. The witch wolves imprisoned it using 7 seals, each tied to a fundamental aspect of shifter nature. The seals were designed to eventually break, allowing the accumulated power to destroy the Void King permanently. And you need access to the second seal, which is in my territory, Zane finished. He stood and moved to a large map on the wall, tracing the mountain ranges with one finger. I assume you felt its location? How did you Isla started? Because I felt it too. There's a place high in the northern peaks where the magic is different. Older. My predecessors declared it sacred ground, forbidden to enter without cause. Zane turned back to them. I'm guessing that's where you need to go. Yes, Isla said. And we need to get there in 5 days. The journey alone takes 4 days. And that's if the weather cooperates, which it rarely does this time of year. Zane studied her intently. But I'm guessing you're not here just for directions. You need something else. Isla exchanged glances with Raiden, then nodded. According to my grandmother's spirit, strengthening the seal requires multiple sources of power. A witch-wolf descendant, that's me. An Alpha King, that's Raiden. And the blessing of the territory's Alpha, Zane finished. Because the seal is anchored to my lands, it needs my permission to be reinforced. Yes. Interesting. Zane returned to his seat, fingers steepled as he thought. And if I refuse? What happens? The seal breaks, Caleb said grimly. The second aspect of shifter nature becomes unstable. Based on the pattern from the first seal, that means every mate bond in existence will start to deteriorate. Within weeks, maybe months, no shifter will be able to form or maintain a mate bond. We'll lose one of our most fundamental connections. And the Void King gets one step closer to freedom, Isla added. 2 seals down, 5 to go. We can't let that happen. Zane was quiet for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke. I'll help you. But I'm coming with you. What? Dane said. No offense, Alpha Zane, but this isn't your fight. It became my fight the moment the seal was placed in my territory. Zane's voice carried absolute authority. If we're going to save the world, I'm not sitting this one out. Besides, you'll need a guide. The northern peaks are treacherous, and I know them better than anyone. Raiden studied the other Alpha carefully, then nodded. Agreed. We leave at dawn. One more thing, Zane said. The ritual to strengthen the seal, it's going to require more than just power and permission. According to the old stories, it requires a test. Each seal has a guardian, a manifestation of the aspect it represents. To strengthen the seal of love, you'll have to prove that your love is strong enough to withstand anything. What kind of test? Isla asked, though she had a sinking feeling she already knew. The kind that tears at your deepest fears. Shows you your worst nightmares. Forces you to choose between your love and everything else you value. Zane's expression was sympathetic. The seal will test you to your absolute limit. And if you fail, if your love breaks under the pressure, the seal shatters immediately. Isla felt Ryden's hand find hers, their fingers intertwining. We won't fail, Ryden said with absolute conviction. I hope you're right, Zane replied. Because if you're wrong, we're all dead. 4 days later, high in the northern peaks. The journey had been brutal. Freezing temperatures. Narrow trails with deadly drops. 2 avalanches that they'd barely escaped. And the entire time, Isla could feel the seal weakening, its pulse growing more erratic with each passing hour. They had less than a day left. The group stood at the entrance to a massive cave that seemed to exhale ancient magic. Ice crystals covered every surface, glowing faintly with inner light. This is it, Zane said quietly. The Chamber of Hearts. Where the second seal resides. It's beautiful, Isla whispered. It's dangerous, Dane countered. I can feel the power from here. Whatever's inside that cave is not going to welcome visitors. Then it's a good thing we're not visiting, Ryden said. We're here to work. Zane, what do we need to do? You and Isla go in alone. The seal will only respond to the mated pair and the territory alpha. The rest need to stay here. The magic is too volatile for more wolves. Zane looked at his contingent of mountain pack warriors who'd accompanied them, then at Ryden's people. No matter what you hear coming from that cave, no one enters unless I give the signal. Understood. Reluctant nods from both groups. Ryden turned to Isla. Ready? No. But let's do this anyway. They entered the cave hand in hand, with Zane following close behind. The temperature dropped immediately, far colder than even the mountain air outside. Their breath misted in front of them, and frost formed on their clothes within seconds. The cave opened into a massive chamber carved from pure ice. At its center stood a pillar of light, the second seal, pulsing weakly like a dying star. And surrounding the pillar were shadows. Not normal shadows. These moved with purpose, swirling and coalescing into shapes that seemed almost familiar. The Guardians, Zane said. They'll test you now. Remember, whatever they show you, whatever they make you feel, it's not real. Focus on your bond. Trust each other. What about you? Isla asked. I just need to witness and give permission at the end. This test is for you too. Zane stepped back, giving them space. Good luck. The shadows surged forward. Ryden's test. One moment, Ryden was standing in the ice chamber. The next, he was back in the Nightshade compound. Jareth stood before him, holding Isla by the throat. Her eyes were wide with fear, her hands clawing uselessly at the Nightshade Alpha's grip. Choose, Alpha King, Jareth said. Her life or your pack's. Surrender Silvercrest to me, and I'll let her live. Refuse, and I snap her neck right now. This isn't real, Ryden growled. I know it's not real. Does it matter? Jareth's smile was cruel. The question is real. Your pack or your mate. Your duty or your love. What do you choose? Behind Jareth, Ryden could see Silvercrest territory burning. His pack members screaming. Everything he'd spent his life building turning to ash. I choose both, Ryden said through gritted teeth. I choose to save my pack and my mate. I refuse your false choice. There is no both, Jareth snarled. There's only sacrifice. So choose. Ryden closed his eyes, reaching for the mate bond. Isla, can you hear me? Her presence surged through the connection, warm and alive. I'm here. This is a test, remember? Focus on us. Focus on our love. I am. But it's showing me losing you. Showing me having to choose between you and the pack. And what does your heart tell you? Ryden opened his eyes, looking directly at the shadow Jareth. My heart tells me that I don't have to choose. Because my mate and my pack aren't separate things. Isla is my pack. She's my alpha queen. And choosing her means choosing them because we lead together. We protect together. We love together. The shadow Jareth flickered. That's exactly how it works. Ryden stepped forward, unafraid. You can't make me choose between parts of myself. I am an alpha king who loves his pack. I am a mate who would die for his female. Those things aren't in conflict. They're the same thing. The vision shattered. Isla's test. Isla found herself standing in a different nightmare. The pack hall, full of wolves. But they were all staring at her with hatred. With disgust. She's the reason the seals are breaking, Elder Morrigan said. She's the one who started all of this. If she'd just died with the curse like she was supposed to, none of this would be happening. She's cursed, someone else said. Tainted. She's going to destroy us all. Ryden only claimed her because of the mate bond, Liam said coldly. If he had a choice, he'd never have chosen an Omega. Never have chosen someone so weak. The words cut deeper than any blade. Because part of Isla believed them. Part of her had always believed she wasn't worthy of Ryden, wasn't worthy of being Alpha Queen. That's not true, she said, but her voice shook. Isn't it? Shadow Morrigan stepped forward. You brought curses to this pack. You nearly got your mate killed multiple times. You're trying to save the world, but you're the reason it's in danger in the first place. No. I broke the seal to save Ryden. I made that choice because I loved him. And look what your love has cost. Broken seals. An ancient evil rising. All because you couldn't just let him die like you were supposed to. Isla felt tears streaming down her face. I couldn't watch him die. I couldn't. Isla. Ryden's voice came through the bond, strong and certain. Whatever they're showing you, it's a lie. Listen to me. You are worthy. You are strong. You are exactly who you're supposed to be. But the things they're saying are meant to break you, to make you doubt yourself. Don't let them. His love flooded through the bond, overwhelming everything else. You saved me, not just from the curse, but from a life of duty without joy, of leadership without love. You made me whole, Isla. Never doubt that. Isla straightened, wiping away her tears. She looked at the shadow wolves surrounding her and saw them for what they were, fear. Her own fear, given form. You're wrong, she said clearly. I'm not the reason the seals are breaking. I'm the key to making them stronger. My love for Ryden didn't curse the world, it's going to save it. And I'm not weak. I'm a witch wolf, a mate, an alpha queen. I'm exactly as strong as I need to be. The shadows recoiled. I don't need your approval, Isla continued, power building in her voice. I don't need you to believe in me. Because I believe in me. And so does my mate. And that's all that matters. The vision exploded into light. Back in the chamber. Ryden and Isla gasped simultaneously, finding themselves back in the ice chamber. They were on their knees, but their hands were still clasped together. The shadows had retreated, swirling uncertainly around the weakened seal. You passed, Zane said, awe in his voice. Both of you passed. Now what? Ryden asked, helping Isla to her feet. Now we strengthen the seal. Zane moved to the pillar of light, placing his hand on it. As Alpha of the Mountain Pack, I give my blessing for this seal to be reinforced. I offer the strength of my territory and my wolves to anchor this magic. The seal pulsed brighter. Now you too, Zane said. Complete the ritual. Give the seal what it needs. Isla looked at Ryden, and understanding passed between them. They stepped forward together, each placing a hand on the pillar. Power surged through them, alpha strength from Ryden, witch wolf magic from Isla, and something else. Something that came from both of them. Love. Pure, unconditional, tested and proven love. The seal drank it in greedily, growing brighter with each passing second. The cracks began to heal. The pulse steadied and strengthened. And Isla spoke words in the old language that she didn't remember learning, words that flowed through her from her grandmother, from Morgana herself. By blood and bond, by heart and soul, by love that conquers fear and death, let this seal be renewed. Let it stand against darkness for another age. Let it protect all who love, all who bond, all who find their other half. This seal is love, and love cannot be broken. The pillar exploded with light. When the brilliance faded, the seal stood strong and whole, pulsing with steady, powerful rhythm. The second seal was saved. Isla collapsed against Ryden, exhausted. He caught her easily, pulling her close. "We did it," she whispered. "We did," he agreed. "Together." Zane approached, smiling. "That was incredible. I've never seen magic like that." "Neither have I," Caleb said from the cave entrance. Apparently he and the others had been watching despite Zane's orders. "The seal is stronger than before. It'll hold for centuries now." "Good," Dane said. "Because I'm not climbing these mountains again." Laughter rippled through the group, exhausted, relieved laughter. But Isla's relief was short-lived, because as she looked down at the mark on her arm, she saw new words appearing. Second seal strengthened. 5 remain. But beware, the Void King knows your names now. The next seal will not surrender so easily. She showed Ryden, who read the words with a grim expression. 5 more, he said quietly. 5 more seals to strengthen. 5 more tests, Isla added. Each one probably harder than the last. Then we'll face them. Ryden cupped her face, his touch gentle. 1 seal at a time. 1 test at a time. Together. Together, Isla echoed. They kissed, and through their bond, she felt his absolute commitment. His unwavering determination to see this through to the end. And she felt her own resolve strengthening. They'd saved the second seal. They'd proven their love could withstand any test. Now they just had to do it 5 more times. While an ancient evil watched and waited for them to fail. "Come on," Zane said. "Let's get back to the stronghold. You two need rest, food, and probably a very long strategy session about what comes next." As they made their way out of the cave, Isla allowed herself one moment of celebration. They'd done the impossible. Again. And as long as they had each other, as long as their love remained strong, she believed they could keep doing it. 1 seal at a time. Until the Void King was destroyed forever. 3 months later, Silvercrest territory had never been stronger. The integration of the Nightshade Wolves was complete. The pack had grown to nearly 4,000 members, making it one of the largest territories in the region. Trade agreements with the Mountain Pack had brought prosperity. And under Isla and Ryden's joint leadership, the pack was thriving. But the seals were never far from their minds. Isla stood in the newly established Seal Archive, a secure wing of the pack library dedicated to researching the remaining 5 seals. Maps covered the walls, marking potential locations across different territories. Books lay open on every surface, filled with Caleb's notes and translations. "The 3rd seal should be in the southern wetlands," Caleb said, pointing to a map. "Based on the pattern, it represents loyalty." Which makes sense. The Wetlands Pack is known for their unbreakable pack bonds. "Have you reached out to Alpha, Theo?" Isla asked. 3 times. "He's cautious. Wants proof before he'll even meet with us." Caleb sighed. "Can't blame him. Hi, we need to strengthen an ancient seal in your territory to prevent the end of the world isn't exactly a normal request." Isla smiled despite the situation. "No, I suppose it's not." The door opened and Ryden entered with Zane, who'd been staying at Silvercrest for the past week as their ally and friend. "Good news," Ryden announced. "Zane's cousin is mated to one of Theo's betas. She's agreed to arrange a meeting." "When?" Isla asked. 2 weeks. Neutral territory." Ryden moved to her side, his hand automatically finding hers. "We'll bring a small delegation. Keep it non-threatening. And hope he's more reasonable than he seems," Zane added. "Fair warning, Theo is notoriously stubborn. He doesn't trust easily, and he definitely doesn't believe in ancient legends." "Then we'll have to be very convincing," Isla said. As the others continued planning, Isla felt Ryden's emotions through their bond, A mixture of determination and something else. Contentment, maybe. Pride. She squeezed his hand, sending warmth through their connection. What? She asked silently. Just thinking about how far we've come, he replied the same way. 3 months ago, you were trying to sacrifice yourself to save me. Now you're saving the world. We're saving the world. Together. Together, he agreed, and she felt his love wash over her like sunlight. A knock interrupted the moment. One of the pack warriors entered, looking nervous. Alpha King, Alpha Queen, there's someone at the border requesting asylum. She says she has information about the seals. Everyone in the room went still. Who is she? Ryden demanded. She won't give her name. Just keep saying she needs to speak with the witchwolf. The warrior swallowed. And she's wearing the robes of a dark witch. Isla and Ryden exchanged glances. It could be a trap, Dane warned. Or it could be someone who can actually help us, Caleb countered. We need all the information we can get. Bring her to the interrogation room, Ryden decided. Full guard. If she makes one wrong move. Understood, Your Majesty. 20 minutes later. The woman in the interrogation room was older than Isla expected, with silver-streaked hair and eyes that had seen too much. Scars covered her hands, the kind that came from working with dangerous magic. My name is Charlotte, she said without preamble. And before you ask, yes, I know what you're doing. I know about the seals. And I know you're going to fail unless you listen to what I have to say. That's quite an opening, Ryden said coolly. Why should we trust anything you say? Because I was there when the seals were created. Charlotte's smile was bitter. I was Morgana's apprentice. Her confidant. The one who helped her design the ritual that imprisoned the Void King. Isla's heart stopped. That's impossible. That was 13 generations ago. You'd have to be over 500 years old. Yes. Charlotte pulled up her sleeve, revealing a mark similar to Isla's, but corrupted, blackened with dark magic. I used forbidden spells to extend my life. Wanted to see if the seals would work. Wanted to know if Morgana's sacrifice meant something. And? Caleb leaned forward, fascinated despite himself. And I've watched 13 generations of witchwolves live and die, never knowing the truth about what they guarded. Watched the seals grow weaker with each passing century. Watched the Void King slowly wake from his prison. Charlotte's gaze fixed on Isla. Until you and your mate did something we never anticipated. What's that? Isla asked. You're not just strengthening the seals. You're transforming them. The second seal, I felt it when you completed the ritual. It's not the same magic Morgana created. It's something new. Something stronger. The combined power of a mate bond and witchwolf magic, Ryden said. We know. No, you don't know. Charlotte stood, pacing the small room like a caged animal. Morgana never completed her mate bond with the first Alpha King. She sacrificed herself before they could. She thought sacrifice was necessary, that one person had to die to save everyone else. But she was wrong. What do you mean? Isla felt a chill run down her spine. The seals were always meant to be temporary. A prison to hold the Void King until something strong enough to destroy him could be created. Morgana thought that something was sacrifice. But it's not. Charlotte turned to face them. It's love. Completed, unconditional love between an alpha and a witchwolf. The kind of love you two have. Silence filled the room. Are you saying, Caleb said slowly, that when they strengthen all 7 seals, they won't just be protecting the world, they'll be creating a weapon? Exactly. Charlotte's expression was intense. Each seal you strengthen with your bond becomes part of a larger magical matrix. When all 7 are complete, you'll have enough power to destroy the Void King permanently, to end the cycle of imprisonment and fear. But to do that, Isla said, understanding dawning, we'd have to face the Void King directly. Yes, and there's no guarantee we'd survive. No, Charlotte admitted. But it's the only way to truly save the world. Otherwise, you're just delaying the inevitable. Eventually, the seals will fail. And next time, there might not be a witch wolf and an alpha king who love each other enough to stop it. Raiden's hand found Isla's, their fingers intertwining. Through the bond, she felt his thoughts racing, calculating risks and possibilities. "Why tell us this now?" he asked Charlotte. "Why not reveal yourself months ago?" "Because I needed to see if you were worthy. If your love was real or just destiny forcing you together." Charlotte's expression softened. "I've watched too many fated mates grow to resent each other. Too many bonds maintained through duty rather than devotion. But you two? You chose each other. Even when it would have been easier to walk away, you chose to stay and fight. That's the kind of love that can change the world." Isla felt tears prick her eyes. "What do you need from us?" "Let me help you. I know things about the seals that aren't in any book. I can guide you, prepare you for the tests ahead." Charlotte's voice was almost pleading. "I've spent 500 years waiting for someone who could finish what Morgana started. Please, let me help." Raiden looked at Isla, a silent question in his eyes. She considered everything Charlotte had said. The risks of trusting a dark witch. The possibility this was all an elaborate trap. But she also felt the truth in Charlotte's words. The sincerity of someone who'd carried a burden for far too long. "What do you think?" Isla asked through the bond. "I think we need all the help we can get," Raiden replied. "And I think she's telling the truth. But it's your call. This is your heritage, your magic." "Then we accept her help. Together." "Together," he agreed. Isla turned to Charlotte. "We'll give you a chance. But you'll be monitored. And if you betray us—" "I won't," Charlotte said fervently. "I've waited too long for this. I'm not going to ruin it now." "Then welcome to the team," Raiden said. "We have 5 seals left to strengthen and a meeting with Alpha Theo in 2 weeks. I hope you're ready to work." Charlotte smiled, a genuine, hopeful smile that took years off her face. "I was born ready." 2 weeks later, at the neutral ground meeting with Alpha Theo. The Southern Wetlands Alpha was exactly as difficult as promised. Theo sat across from Isla and Raiden with his arms crossed, his expression skeptical. "Let me get this straight. You want me to give you access to sacred ground in my territory because of some ancient legend about a Void King. And you expect me to believe this? Why?" "Because it's the truth," Isla said patiently. They'd been at this for an hour. "And because if we don't strengthen the 3rd seal, every pack bond in existence will begin to deteriorate. Your wolves will lose their ability to work together, to function as a cohesive unit." "That sounds like a threat." "It's not a threat. It's a warning." Raiden leaned forward. "Look, Theo, I know this sounds insane. Trust me, I was skeptical too. But I've seen what happens when a seal breaks. I felt the curse that nearly destroyed me. This is real, whether you believe it or not." "Prove it," Theo challenged. "Show me something that makes me believe." Isla and Raiden exchanged glances. Then, simultaneously, they placed their hands on the table between them. Power flared, visible, tangible power. The mate bond manifested as golden light that wrapped around their joined hands. And within that light, images appeared. The first seal breaking. The curse transferring. The battle at Nightshade. The strengthening of the 2nd seal. All of it, playing out like a vision for Theo to witness. When the light faded, the Southern Alpha sat back, his expression shaken. That was real," he said hoarsely. "All of it." "Yes," Isla confirmed. "And we need your help." The 3rd seal represents loyalty, the bonds that hold packs together. Your territory is known for having the strongest pack bonds in the region. The seal chose your lands for a reason. Theo was quiet for a long moment, processing everything he'd seen. Finally, he nodded. "All right. I'll help you. But I have conditions." "Name them," Raiden said. "First, you strengthen the seal within the next 2 weeks. I'm not having ancient magic destabilizing my territory for months. Second, Charlotte stays behind. I don't trust dark witches, alliance or not. Third, Theo's expression grew serious. If this works, if you manage to strengthen all 7 seals and destroy this Void King, I want a place in the new alliance. A council of alphas working together to protect all shifters, not just individual packs. Done, Raiden said immediately. We were going to propose something similar anyway. The old ways, isolated packs competing for resources, they're not sustainable. Not with threats like this on the horizon. Then we have a deal. Theo stood, offering his hand. Welcome to the wetlands, Alpha King. Let's save the world. 10 days later, after successfully strengthening the third seal, Isla stood on the balcony of their quarters, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. 3 seals down. 4 to go. Each one had been harder than the last. The test of loyalty had forced them to choose between their bond and their pack, an illusion where saving each other meant condemning thousands of innocent wolves to death. They'd passed by refusing to choose. By understanding that true loyalty meant protecting everyone, not sacrificing some for others. But it had taken everything they had. Arms wrapped around her from behind. Raiden's warmth enveloped her as he pulled her back against his chest. Thinking about the next seal, he murmured against her hair. Always. Charlotte says the 4th seal, the seal of sacrifice, is in the western desert. Alpha Enzo's territory. Enzo will be easier to convince than Theo was. He's more pragmatic. I hope you're right. Isla turned in his arms, resting her head against his chest. Raiden, what happens when we strengthen all 7 seals? When we have to face the Void King? We win. You sound very certain. I am. He tilted her chin up, meeting her eyes. You know why? Because we've already beaten the impossible. Multiple times. The curse, Jareth, the seals, we've faced things that should have destroyed us, and we're still standing. Still together. Still fighting. But the Void King is different. It's not just a curse or a corrupt alpha. It's the first darkness. The thing that existed before light. And we're the light that will end it. Raiden kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips. Stop doubting us, my love. We've earned the right to believe in ourselves. Isla smiled, feeling some of her anxiety ease. When did you become the optimistic one? When I met you. You taught me that hope isn't weakness, it's the strongest weapon we have. I love you, she said, pouring everything she felt into those 3 words. I love you too. More than I thought possible. Raiden's expression grew serious. Whatever comes next, whether it's 4 more seals or facing the Void King or something we haven't even imagined yet, we face it together. That's not just a promise. It's a fact. Nothing separates us. Not fear, not darkness, not even death itself. Together, Isla echoed, and through their bond, she felt the absolute truth of his words. They kissed as the sun set behind them, 2 souls perfectly aligned, facing an uncertain future with unwavering faith in each other. 6 months later, the Great Hall of Silvercrest was filled to capacity. Alphas from every territory had gathered for the historic first meeting of the Alliance Council, a confederation of packs working together for mutual protection and prosperity. Alpha Zane of the Mountain Pack. Alpha Theo of the Wetlands. Alpha Enzo of the Western Desert. And representatives from a dozen other territories, all united by the threat they'd overcome together. Because they'd done it. All 7 seals strengthened. All 7 tests passed. The last 4 had been the hardest. Sacrifice, where they'd had to give up something precious to prove their love was selfless. Strength, where they'd fought manifestations of their own inner demons. Wisdom, where they'd solved impossible riddles while the seal crumbled around them. And finally, unity, where they'd had to merge their very souls to prove that 2 could truly become 1. Each test had pushed them to their absolute limit. Each ritual had required more power, more conviction, more love than the one before. But they'd succeeded. And now, standing before the assembled alphas with the completed seal matrix glowing faintly on Isla's arm, they were ready for the final step. Destroying the Void King. The ritual will take place in 3 days, Isla announced. At the original site where the witch wolves first imprisoned the darkness. Charlotte has prepared the ground. The seal matrix is ready. And if you fail, someone called out. If the Void King is too powerful, then we fail knowing we tried everything, Raiden said firmly. But we won't fail. Because we have something the Void King doesn't understand. Something it can never corrupt or control. What's that? Enzo asked. Raiden looked at Isla, and she smiled. Love, they said together. The kind of love that sacrifices without expecting anything in return, Isla continued. The kind that stands firm when everything else crumbles. The kind that chooses hope even in the darkest hour. The kind that changes the world, Raiden finished. The hall erupted in howls, the traditional shifter expression of support and solidarity. As the noise swelled around them, Isla felt peace settle over her. Whatever happened in 3 days, whatever challenges they faced, she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She and Raiden would face it together. And together, they were unstoppable. 3 days later, at the site of the original ceiling, the ground was scorched black in a perfect circle, as if something had burned away all trace of life centuries ago. This was where Morgana had sacrificed herself, where the first Alpha King had watched his mate die to save the world, where history would either repeat itself or be rewritten entirely. Isla and Raiden stood at the center of the circle, hands clasped, surrounded by every Alpha who'd helped them strengthen the seals. Charlotte worked at the edge of the circle, drawing complex symbols in salt and silver. Are you ready? Charlotte called out. Yes, Isla and Raiden said simultaneously. Then let's end this. Once and for all. Charlotte began chanting in the old language. The seal matrix on Isla's arm blazed to life, each of the 7 symbols glowing with different colored light. Sacrifice red. Love gold. Loyalty blue. Strength silver. Wisdom purple. Unity white. And at the center, connecting them all, leadership black. The ground beneath them began to shake. Cracks appeared in the scorched earth, and darkness poured out like liquid shadow. It coalesced into a form, vaguely humanoid, but wrong in ways that hurt to look at. The Void King had come. Its voice was like the death of stars, like the end of everything. You dare challenge me? You, who are nothing but fleeting sparks in an eternal darkness. We're more than sparks, Isla said, power building in her voice. We're the light that will end you. Presumptuous child. I am eternal. I am inevitable. I am. Afraid, Raiden interrupted. That's why you're here. Why you're trying to intimidate us. Because you know what we represent. What we've built. The Void King laughed, and the sound made wolves cover their ears in pain. You represent nothing. 2 wolves who think love makes them invincible. I have seen countless loves rise and fall. All things end. All light fades. Not this light. Isla raised her hand, and the seal matrix lifted from her arm, becoming a weapon of pure magical energy. Not this love. She and Raiden moved as one, their bond blazing brighter than the sun. 7 seals worth of accumulated power, refined through tests and trials and unconditional devotion, focused into a single point. The Void King attacked with tendrils of darkness, each one capable of destroying a soul. But the light held. Every pack leader standing at the circle's edge added their strength. Zane's mountain stone resilience. Theo's wetlands adaptability. Enzo's desert endurance. Dozens of alphas, lending their power to the 2 wolves at the center. Pack bonds, strengthened and reinforced by the 3rd seal. Mate bonds, protected by the 2nd seal. Leadership, wisdom, sacrifice, strength, loyalty, unity, all of it came together in a symphony of light and magic. The Void King shrieked, its form destabilizing. Impossible. I am the first darkness. I cannot be. Ended. Isla smiled. Watch us. She and Raiden thrust their joined hands forward, and the seal matrix exploded outward in 7 beams of colored light. Each beam struck the Void King, anchoring it, binding it. And then, together, they spoke the final words. By the power of the completed bonds. By the strength of united packs. By the love that conquers all darkness. We end you. We free the world. We choose light. The Void King shattered. Not imprisoned. Not sealed away. Destroyed. Completely and utterly destroyed. The darkness dissolved like smoke in sunlight, and for the first time in millennia, the world was truly free. 1 year later, Isla stood in the nursery, watching Ryden carefully cradle their 3-month-old daughter in his arms. "She has your eyes," he said softly, staring at the tiny pup with absolute adoration. "And apparently your stubbornness. She refused to sleep for the healers, but the moment I picked her up." "She's a daddy's girl," Isla said, moving to stand beside them. "And you love it." "I really do." Their daughter, Morgana, named after Isla's ancestor, yawned and snuggled deeper into Ryden's arms. She was perfect. Healthy. Strong. And according to Charlotte, she carried both witch-wolf magic and alpha king power. A new generation, born from the bond that saved the world. "The Alliance Council meeting starts in an hour," Isla reminded him. "Are you going to be able to put her down?" "Absolutely not. I'm bringing her with us. Let the other alphas see the future we're building." Isla laughed. "You're going to spoil her terribly." "That's my right as her father." Ryden finally tore his gaze away from their daughter to look at Isla. "You know what I was thinking about?" "What?" "A year ago, we were facing the Void King, fighting for the world's survival. And now," he gestured around the peaceful nursery, "now we're arguing about who gets to hold our daughter during council meetings. It's such a dramatic shift." "Are you complaining?" "Not even a little bit." He leaned over to kiss her, careful not to jostle Morgana. "This is everything I never knew I wanted. You, her, the pack, the alliance. Peace. Well-earned peace," Isla corrected. "We fought for this. Bled for it. Nearly died for it multiple times. And I'd do it all again." Ryden's expression grew serious. "Every sacrifice. Every test. Every impossible choice. Because it led us here." Isla touched his face gently. "Me too." They stood like that for a moment, their small family perfect and complete. Then Morgana made a small noise, not quite a cry but a definite complaint, and the spell was broken. All right, Ryden said, rocking her gently. "Let's go to the council meeting. You can glare at boring alphas for me." As they walked through the halls of the pack house toward the council chamber, Isla felt overwhelmingly grateful. For Ryden, who'd never given up on her even when she tried to push him away. For the pack, who'd accepted her despite her unconventional path to leadership. For the friends and allies they'd made along the way. And most of all, for the love that had started this entire journey. The bond that proved stronger than curses, seals, and ancient darkness. The council chamber doors opened, revealing alphas from every territory. Zane waved from his seat. Theo nodded respectfully. Enzo grinned at the sight of Ryden carrying the baby. "Looks like someone's already mastered the most important leadership skill," Enzo called out. "Multitasking." Laughter rippled through the chamber. As Isla and Ryden took their places at the head of the table, with Morgana still peacefully sleeping in her father's arms, Isla felt the rightness of this moment. They'd saved the world, yes. But more than that, they'd changed it. United packs where before there was only competition. Created alliances where before there was only isolation. Proven that love wasn't weakness, but the greatest strength of all. And they were just getting started. "Shall we begin?" Ryden asked, addressing the assembled leaders. "Let's," Zane agreed. "I believe we have a proposal for expanding trade routes." As the meeting launched into discussions of logistics and territory management, Isla settled into her seat beside her mate. Through their bond, she felt his contentment, his love, his absolute certainty that they'd made the right choices. And she sent him back the same. Because this peace, this family, this future, was what they'd fought for. And it was more beautiful than either of them had ever imagined. Oh my goodness, what a journey! From a false confession to saving the entire world, Isla and Ryden have been through everything. And now they have a beautiful daughter and a peaceful future ahead of them. What was your favorite part of this story? Which scene made you cry? Which moment made you cheer? Drop all your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear everything. And if you love this story, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another epic tale. Share this with your friends who love shifter romance. Leave a like. And most importantly, keep believing in the power of love. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you for following Isla and Raiden's journey from beginning to end. Until next time, keep believing in happy endings. They're worth fighting for. Much love.